The first image is not a landscape. It is not a city. It is an eye. The eye of a dead horse, lying on its side in the middle of a Berlin street. The eye is open, glassy, reflecting the gray sky. Flies crawl across it. Children stand around the horse, not crying, not playing. They are staring at it with an intensity that is disturbing. They are not looking at death. They are looking at dinner. One boy, no older than 8, holds a rusty kitchen knife behind his back. He is waiting for the adults to leave so he can start cutting. This is Berlin, 1923. This is the reality behind the history books. The camera pulls back slowly, revealing the street. It looks like a city after a natural disaster. But no storm hit here. No earthquake, just a peace treaty. The buildings are still standing, but the life has been sucked out of them. Shop windows are boarded up. Doorways are filled with families sleeping in piles of rags. A woman in a torn dress sits on the steps of what used to be a bank, staring at nothing, her lips moving silently. She is not praying. She has forgotten how. A man walks past the camera. His name is Friedrich. He is not a hero. He is not a villain. He is just a man who is about to break. He carries a leather briefcase, polished, expensive. It looks ridiculous against his threadbare coat and sunken cheeks. The briefcase contains his life savings. He is taking it to the bank to buy a loaf of bread. Friedrich was not always like this. 5 years ago, he was a clerk in a respected import firm. He had a wife, a small apartment with lace curtains, and a future. His wife, Elsa, used to sing while she cooked. He remembers the sound of her voice drifting from the kitchen. He remembers the smell of actual food. Now he cannot remember the last time either of them smiled. He arrives at the bakery. The line stretches down the block. Hundreds of people, silent, desperate, pressed together like cattle waiting for slaughter. No one speaks. There is nothing to say. Words have become useless. Only bread matters. At the front of the line, a scene unfolds that Friedrich has witnessed 100 times, but still cannot accept. An elderly woman, frail as a bird, reaches the counter. She opens a cloth bag and empties it onto the wooden surface. The bag contains millions of marks. Paper currency stacked so high it obscures the baker's face from view. The baker, a heavy man with dead eyes, counts it with practiced efficiency. He pushes a single roll across the counter. 1 roll. The woman takes it, holds it to her chest like an infant, and walks away. She does not eat it. She will ration it. Make it last 3 days. 4 if she sucks on it instead of chewing. Friedrich steps forward. He opens his briefcase. Inside, neat stacks of million-mark notes, each one stamped with the date. Each one worth less than the paper it is printed on. He has been saving for 20 years. 20 years of work, of scrimping, of dreaming of a comfortable retirement with Elsa. It is now worth 2 loaves of bread. The baker looks at Friedrich. For a moment, something flickers in his eyes. Pity, maybe, or just exhaustion. He slides 2 loaves across the counter. Friedrich does not move. He stares at the bread. Then he looks at the briefcase, now empty. 20 years. Gone. Reduced to 2 pounds of flour and water. He walks out of the bakery. The line parts for him, but no one looks at him. They look at the bread. He feels their eyes on the loaves, burning with hunger. He clutches them tighter and walks faster. At home, Elsa waits. Their apartment is clean, obsessively clean, as if order can somehow compensate for emptiness. She has arranged wildflowers in a chipped vase on the table. The flowers are dying, petals dropping onto the wood. She cannot afford water to keep them fresh. Water costs money. Money is worthless, but water is not. Friedrich places the loaves on the table. Elsa looks at them. She does not touch them. She looks at Friedrich. She sees her husband, the man she married, reduced to this. Hollow cheeks, hollow eyes, hollow soul. She wants to say something comforting, but there are no words left. Instead, she reaches out and takes his hand. His skin is cold. Hers is colder. That night, Friedrich cannot sleep. He lies next to Elsa, listening to her shallow breathing. She has stopped singing in the kitchen. She has stopped singing altogether. He stares at the ceiling and thinks about the Treaty of Versailles. He has never been to Versailles. He has never seen the Hall of Mirrors where his country was humiliated. But he feels it every day. He feels it in his empty stomach. He feels it in his wife's silence. He feels it in the dead horse on the street that children are fighting over like wolves. The treaty is not just paper. It is a machine designed to crush. And Friedrich is under its wheel. The scene shifts. We go back just 4 years. To 1919, to the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles. It is the most beautiful room Friedrich will never see. Chandeliers cascade from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls. Sunlight pours through 17 enormous arches, reflecting off mirrors that line the walls, creating an infinite regress of crystal and gold. The room seems to stretch forever, a palace of light and luxury, designed to impress, to intimidate, to remind every visitor of the power of France. The German delegation sits at a small table in the center of this vast space. They are surrounded. The French, the British, the Americans, the Italians. Hundreds of officials, generals, diplomats, all staring at the 5 Germans as if they are specimens in a jar. The Germans are not allowed to sit at the main table. They are not allowed to speak unless spoken to. They are not here to negotiate. They are here to receive their sentence. Georges Clemenceau, the French Prime Minister, rises. He is old, 78, with a white mustache and eyes like flint. He fought in the Franco-Prussian War as a young man. He watched Germany defeat France, humiliate France, take French land. He has waited 48 years for this moment. 48 years of revenge fermenting in his blood. He speaks in French, his voice carrying through the hall without effort. He reads the terms. Article after article after article. Germany must accept full responsibility for causing the war. Full responsibility. Not partial. Not shared. All of it. The war guilt clause. It is a lie and everyone in the room knows it. The war was a catastrophe caused by a web of alliances, miscalculations, egos, and accidents. But blame must be assigned. And Germany is the only candidate left standing. Germany must pay reparations. The figure is not yet set, but it will be astronomical. $33 billion. A sum so vast it defies comprehension. It is more than Germany possesses. It is more than Germany can ever possess. It is a debt that will take generations to pay, a chain around the neck of every German child not yet born. Germany must surrender its army. No more than 100,000 men. No tanks, no aircraft, no submarines. Its navy, the pride of the Kaiser, to be handed over or scuttled. The Rhineland, Germany's industrial heart, to be occupied by Allied troops for 15 years. German land to be given to Poland, to France, to Belgium. Germany's colonies seized. The German representative, Count Ulrich von Brockdorff-Rantzau, sits motionless. His face is pale, but not with fear, with rage. He is not allowed to speak until the end. He must sit and absorb every word, every humiliation, while the mirrors reflect his shame back at him 1,000 times. When Clemenceau finally finishes, Brockdorff-Rantzau rises. His voice is controlled, but it trembles with fury. He says the terms are not a peace treaty. They are a death sentence. He says Germany will not be able to pay. He says this treaty will breed war, not prevent it. He speaks of justice, of fairness, of the future. Clemenceau listens, his face expressionless. When the German finishes, Clemenceau simply says, "The war must be paid for." It is not an argument. It is a verdict. There will be no appeal. The Germans sign. The pen scratches against the paper. The sound echoes in the vast hall. Outside, cannons fire to celebrate. People dance in the streets of Paris. The war is over. Peace has come. No one inside that hall, not Clemenceau, not Lloyd George, not the exhausted Woodrow Wilson, knows that they have just signed the invitation to the next war, the deadliest war in human history, and it will be signed in this very room, by this very treaty, on this very day. Back in Berlin, Friedrich is now in a crowd. It is years later, 1932. The inflation has stabilized, temporarily, but the damage is permanent. Friedrich lost everything: the briefcase, the savings, the dreams. Elsa died last winter. Pneumonia. They could not afford a doctor, could not afford medicine, could not afford to keep the apartment warm. He held her hand as she faded, listening to her struggle for breath, and he felt something die inside him too. Not grief, something worse. Nothing. He felt nothing. Now he stands in a crowd of thousands, in a sports arena converted into a rally hall. Rows upon rows of men in brown shirts stand at attention. Banners hang from the rafters, red with white circles and black swastikas. The crowd is electric, humming with anticipation. Friedrich did not come here because he believes in anything. He came because he had nowhere else to go, because the men in brown shirts handed him a bowl of hot soup and let him sit in a warm building, because they looked at him and did not see a failure. They saw a German. A murmur ripples through the crowd. Then a roar. A man strides onto the stage. He is not impressive at first glance. Medium height, a small mustache, plain uniform. But when he speaks, the room changes. His voice starts low, a rasp, a growl. Then it rises, climbs, becomes a weapon. Adolf Hitler does not talk about economics. He does not offer spreadsheets or budgets. He talks about shame. He talks about the dagger in the back, the stab in the back myth, the lie that Germany did not lose the war but was betrayed by traitors at home, Jews, communists, the November criminals who signed the armistice. He gives them a target. He gives them someone to hate. He points at the Treaty of Versailles. He tears it apart, clause by clause, in front of their eyes. He calls it a crime against humanity. He calls the men who signed it criminals. He promises to rip it up, to tear it to shreds, to make Germany strong again, to make Germany proud again, to make Germany feared again. The crowd erupts. Thousands of arms shoot forward in the Nazi salute. The roar is deafening, primal, terrifying. Friedrich stands in the middle of it. He does not raise his arm. Not yet. But he feels it. The current. The belonging. For the first time since Elsa died, since the bread lines, since the dead horse, since the empty briefcase, he feels something. He feels warm. He looks at the faces around him. Men who were nothing. Workers, clerks, farmers, veterans with empty sleeves and empty eyes. Now they are something. They are soldiers in a movement. They are the future. Hitler is still speaking. his voice now a scream, a prayer, a threat. Germany will live again. Germany will rise again. They cannot keep us down. They cannot destroy us. We will tear up Versailles. We will have our revenge. We will have our place in the sun. Friedrich closes his eyes. He sees Elsa's face. He hears her singing. He opens his eyes. Hitler is still there, arms outstretched, a messiah of hate. Friedrich's arm rises, slowly at first, then faster. It joins the forest of arms around him. He is part of it now, part of the movement, part of the rage. Outside the arena the night is cold, but inside a fire is burning. A fire that will consume Berlin, consume Germany, consume Europe, consume the world. And it started here, in the shame of Versailles, in the hunger of the streets, in the desperation of a man who lost everything and found a devil who promised to give it back. The first image is a smile, a wide, relieved, triumphant smile on the face of a British Prime Minister, named Neville Chamberlain. He stands on the tarmac at Heston Aerodrome, just outside London. It is September 30th, 1938. He holds a single sheet of paper in his hand, and he waves it at the crowd like a trophy. The paper flutters in the wind, white against the gray sky. Behind him, the silver fuselage of his British Airways Lockheed Electra still gleams with the moisture of the flight from Munich. Chamberlain steps toward the microphones. Newsreel cameras crank. Reporters shout. The crowd, a crowd that has gathered spontaneously, cheers. The Prime Minister leans into the microphones, his voice high, reedy, but filled with a conviction that seems unshakable. He says the words that will echo through history, that will become the most famous and the most mocked words of the entire decade. I believe it is peace for our time. The crowd erupts. Hats fly into the air. Strangers hug each other. Women cry. Men clap each other on the back. Peace. After years of fear, of rearmament, of darkening clouds, peace has been secured. The paper in Chamberlain's hand, the Anglo-German Declaration, signed by himself and Adolf Hitler, promises that the two countries will never go to war again. The camera lingers on Chamberlain's face. He is 70 years old. He has spent his entire political career trying to prevent another war, haunted by the memory of the Great War, by the trenches, by the millions of young men who never came home. He looks tired. But he also looks, for the first time in years, hopeful. He believes what he just said. He believes it with every fiber of his being. He is wrong. And his mistake will cost 50 million lives. Cut to Berlin, 6 months earlier. March 1938. The streets of the Austrian capital, Vienna, are lined with crowds. But these are not the gray, hungry crowds of the inflation years. These are crowds delirious with joy. They throw flowers, they wave swastika flags, they scream until their voices crack. German troops are marching into Austria. Not fighting, marching. The Anschluss, the union of Germany and Austria, forbidden by the Treaty of Versailles, is happening. And the Austrians are welcoming their German brothers with open arms. Tanks rumble past the Opera House. Soldiers in crisp Wehrmacht gray sit atop armored vehicles, smiling, waving, tossing candy to children. Old men weep with joy. Young women run alongside the columns, pressing flowers into the soldiers' hands. It looks less like an invasion and more like a wedding. In the back seat of an open-top Mercedes, Adolf Hitler stands, his arm raised in the salute, his face a mask of triumph. He was born in Austria. He failed as an artist in Vienna. He was homeless here, sleeping in men's shelters, eating in soup kitchens. Now he returns as the master of Germany, and Austria kneels at his feet. He passes the Imperial Hotel, where he used to stand outside as a nobody, watching the rich go in and out. Now the hotel is his headquarters. That night, from the balcony of the Imperial Hotel, Hitler speaks to the largest crowd Vienna has ever seen. Hundreds of thousands pack the Heldenplatz, the square below, stretching into darkness. Torches flicker. Flags wave. The faces in the crowd are lit from below, transformed into something almost religious. Hitler speaks of destiny, of the German people finally united, of the humiliation of Versailles finally reversed. He does not mention that this union was specifically forbidden by the treaty. He does not mention that he threatened war if Austria resisted. He speaks only of destiny fulfilled. The crowd roars. Church bells ring across the city. Austria has ceased to exist. In London, Chamberlain watches the newsreels in a private screening room. The flickering black and white images show the crowds, the tanks, the jubilation. His advisors shift uncomfortably in their seats. One of them, a young diplomat named Alexander Cadogan, leans forward. He has broken the treaty, Cadogan says quietly. He has taken another country. He will not stop. Chamberlain watches the screen. Hitler's face fills the frame, triumphant, ecstatic. Chamberlain's own face reveals nothing. Finally he speaks. Austria is German, he says. They speak German. They are German. Perhaps this is not unreasonable. Perhaps the treaty was too harsh. Perhaps we must allow some adjustments. Cadogan stares at his prime minister. He wants to argue. He wants to point out that Hitler did not ask. He took. He wants to point out that the treaty was signed in good faith, that promises were made. But he says nothing. The room falls silent, except for the hum of the projector. The camera shifts to a small, cramped apartment in Berlin. Friedrich, the man from the first chapter, sits alone. He is older now, grayer, thinner. The brown shirt uniform hangs loosely on his frame. He was never a true believer, not really. He joined because he was cold and hungry and alone. But he stayed because the party gave him purpose, gave him soup, gave him a bed, gave him somewhere to go when the world had taken everything else. Now he watches the same newsreels in a party meeting hall. The Anschluss plays out on a small screen at the front of the room. Men around him cheer, pound the tables, raise their glasses. Friedrich claps along mechanically. He feels nothing. No joy, no pride. Just the same emptiness that has lived inside him since Elsa died. But he notices something. On the screen, behind the cheering crowds, behind the marching soldiers, he sees a face. A Jewish shopkeeper, standing in his doorway, watching the parade. The man is not cheering. His face is gray. His eyes are wide with something Friedrich recognizes instantly. Fear. The same fear Friedrich felt in the bread lines. The same fear he felt watching Elsa die. Pure animal terror. Friedrich looks away. He tells himself it is nothing. Just a man worried about his business. But the image stays with him. It will stay with him for a long time. Now, Czechoslovakia. September 1938. A small democratic country in the heart of Europe, created by the Treaty of Versailles. It has a strong army, modern fortifications in the mountains along its border, and alliances with France and the Soviet Union. It should be safe. But along its western border, in a region called the Sudetenland, live 3 million Germans. They are Czechoslovak citizens. They have lived there for centuries. And now, they have been activated. Paid by Berlin. trained by Berlin, armed by Berlin. They shout for union with Germany. They riot in the streets. They provoke the Czechoslovak police, who respond with force, which is then reported in the German press as Czech atrocities against innocent Germans. Hitler screams about these atrocities in speeches broadcast across Germany. He demands the Sudetenland. He demands it now. He threatens war. He tells his generals to prepare for invasion. October 1st. That is the date. If the Sudetenland is not handed over by October 1st, German tanks will roll. In London, Chamberlain is desperate. He has never flown before. He is 70 years old, and he has never been on an airplane. But now he flies. 3 times in 2 weeks. First to Berchtesgaden, to meet Hitler in his mountain retreat. Then to Bad Godesberg for more demands. Finally, to Munich for the conference that will decide the fate of a nation. The Munich Conference, September 29th, 1938. A large, ornate room in the Führerbau, Hitler's monumental building in Munich. Present are Hitler, Chamberlain, the French Prime Minister, Édouard Daladier, and the Italian dictator, Benito Mussolini, who acts as a mediator. Absent are any representatives from Czechoslovakia. The country whose land is being divided is not invited. They wait in a hotel down the street, like servants waiting to be told the menu. The conference lasts into the night. Hitler is agitated, demanding, threatening. Chamberlain smokes cigarette after cigarette, his hands trembling slightly. Daladier says little, his face a mask of resignation. Mussolini, who wants to appear as the great peacemaker, proposes a plan that is actually written by the Germans. At 2 a.m, they sign. Czechoslovakia must cede the Sudetenland to Germany, all of it. The fortifications, the industries, the mountains that are its natural defense. In exchange, Hitler promises that this is his last territorial demand in Europe. He has no further claims. The Sudetenland is the end. Chamberlain asks Hitler to sign a separate document. A simple statement. A promise that Germany and Britain will never go to war again. Hitler glances at it, shrugs, signs. It means nothing to him. It is a scrap of paper. To Chamberlain, it is everything. The next morning, Chamberlain flies home and waves that paper on the tarmac. Peace for our time. In Prague, the capital of Czechoslovakia, the news arrives. The army is ordered not to fight. The fortifications are to be abandoned. The Allies have betrayed them. The country is dismembered. The streets of Prague fill with people, but these are not the jubilant crowds of Vienna. These are crowds of mourners. They weep openly. Men tear at their clothes. Women clutch their children. A young soldier, his uniform still new, stands in Wenceslas Square and screams at the sky. He screams until his voice breaks. Then he screams silently, his mouth open. No sound coming out. A priest walks among the crowd, blessing them, his own face streaked with tears. In the Sudetenland, the German troops cross the border. They are welcomed with flowers and flags by the ethnic Germans. But in the Czech villages, in the Czech neighborhoods, doors are locked. Windows are shuttered. Families huddle in basements, listening to the boots marching overhead. Some of them will be dead within a year. Others will be in concentration camps. Others will simply disappear. Friedrich is now in the Sudetenland. He has been assigned to a unit that follows the army, tasked with logistics, with supplies. He stands in a town square that was Czech 3 days ago and is now German. The signs have been changed. The street names are new. A Czech bakery stands empty. its windows smashed, flour still dusting the floor inside. He watches as a family is dragged from a house. A man, his wife, 2 children. The man protests, shows papers, tries to explain. A brown-shirted officer slaps him across the face, hard. The man falls. His wife screams. The children cling to her skirt, crying. The officer points down the street. Walk. Do not look back. Do not stop. Friedrich watches them go. The man is bleeding from his mouth. The wife keeps looking back at their home, at the life they are leaving. The children are too scared to cry anymore. They just walk, small hands clutching their mother's dress. Friedrich feels something. The emptiness inside him shifts. He does not know what it is. Not yet. But something is waking up. He looks around at the other German soldiers and officials. They are laughing, celebrating, drinking beer in the newly acquired square. They do not see the family. They do not see the fear. They see victory. They see the treaty avenged. Friedrich turns away. He walks back to his quarters. He lies on his cot and stares at the ceiling. He thinks of Elsa. He thinks of the bread lines. He thinks of the dead horse on the Berlin street. He thinks of the Jewish shopkeeper in Vienna, the terror in his eyes. And he thinks of the Czech family, walking into a future that holds nothing but darkness. He does not sleep that night. 6 months later. March, 1939. Hitler breaks his promise. Again. German troops march into the rest of Czechoslovakia. Prague is occupied without resistance. The beautiful city, with its spires and bridges, its 1,000 years of history, is now just another German territory. Hitler spends the night in the castle overlooking the city, the ancient seat of Bohemian kings. He looks out the window at the city below and tells his secretary that he loves this view. In London, Chamberlain finally begins to see. Not fully, not clearly, but the fog lifts slightly. He gives a speech in his hometown of Birmingham. His voice is different now, tired, angry, betrayed. He asks a question that hangs in the air like smoke. He asks whether this is the last aggression, or whether it is followed by others. He says that Hitler has given his word and broken it. He says that Britain cannot stand by while small nations are destroyed. But it is too late. The tanks are already rolling. The planes are already being built. The camps are already filling. And the man who promised peace for our time is now forced to prepare for war. On the Polish border, the final piece is moving into place. Hitler has already started making demands. Danzig, the Polish corridor, the same pattern, the same threats, the same lies about German people suffering, the same promises that this is the last demand. In London, in Paris, in Moscow, diplomats rush between embassies carrying papers, carrying warnings, carrying desperate proposals. But the train has left the station. It is gathering speed, and there is no break. Friedrich is back in Berlin. He walks past the bakery where he once bought bread with a briefcase full of money. It is a different bakery now, bigger, brighter. The owner is a Nazi party member, and his window displays pictures of Hitler alongside the pastries. Friedrich does not go in. He cannot. He walks to his apartment. Along the way, he passes a synagogue. It is boarded up. The windows are smashed. Swastikas are painted on the walls. A man in a brown shirt stands guard outside, a rifle over his shoulder. He does not look at Friedrich. He looks straight ahead. A perfect soldier doing his duty. Friedrich stops. He looks at the synagogue. He remembers, suddenly, a sound from childhood. his mother taking him past a synagogue on a Friday evening. The sound of singing drifting through the windows, not loud, not aggressive, just voices, raised together in prayer. His mother had stopped for a moment, listening. She was not Jewish. She was nothing. But she listened, and she smiled. And she said, "Music is music." Now there is no music. Only broken glass and boarded windows and a man with a rifle. Friedrich walks on. He reaches his apartment. He sits at his small table. He does not turn on the light. He sits in the dark, watching the window, watching the street below, watching the world prepare to end. In the distance he hears something, singing, not from a synagogue, from a beer hall down the street. Men's voices, rough, loud, drunk. They are singing the Horst Wessel Lied, the Nazi party anthem. The words drift up through the night. Die Fahne hoch, die Reihen fest geschlossen. The flag held high, the ranks tightly closed. Friedrich listens. He does not sing, he does not join, he just sits in the dark, alone, while the world outside prepares to burn. The first image is light, a pale, creeping light on the horizon. It is 4:45 in the morning on September 1st, 1939. The light is not the sun. It is the flash of artillery, hundreds of guns, lined along the German border with Poland, firing simultaneously. The sound arrives a second later, a rolling thunder that shakes the ground, that rattles windows in villages 50 kilometers away, that wakes children from sleep and sends birds exploding from trees in terrified flocks. The shells arc across the sky, invisible in the darkness, then descend on Polish positions, on Polish towns, on Polish roads. They land in fields where farmers sleep in their cottages. They land in barracks where young Polish conscripts dream of their girlfriends. They land in the center of Wielun, a town with no military targets, a town of hospitals and homes, a town that is simply in the way. The first bombs fall on Wielun at 4:40, 5 minutes before the official start of the war. By the time the sun rises, a quarter of the town is gone. 1,200 civilians are dead. The hospital, marked with a red cross clearly visible from the air, is a pile of rubble. Nurses, patients, children in the pediatric ward, all gone. This is not war as the world knew it. This is something new. This is blitzkrieg, lightning war. The camera moves across the Polish border, following the German spearheads. Tanks, hundreds of them, thousands of them. Panzer IIs and Panzer IIIs and Panzer 38s, painted dark gray, rumbling forward in columns that stretch for miles. They are not spread thin across the front, as in the old wars. They are concentrated, massed. They punch through the Polish lines like a fist through paper. Behind the tanks come the infantry, truck-borne, moving at speeds Polish commanders cannot comprehend. Behind them, the supply columns, the fuel trucks, the ammunition carriers, the field kitchens. It is a machine. A vast, coordinated, terrifying machine. Above them, the sky is black with aircraft. Stuka dive bombers, with their inverted gull wings and their fixed landing gear, scream down from 10,000 feet. They have sirens mounted on their landing gear, the Jericho trompeten, the Jericho trumpets. The sirens are not for targeting. They are for terror. The sound, a shrieking howl that grows louder and louder as the plane dives, drives men insane. It freezes them in place. It makes them cover their ears instead of firing their rifles. It makes them run. And when they run, they are easy targets. A Polish cavalry brigade, the pride of the Polish army, hears the sound. They are mounted on horses, carrying sabers and lances, just like their fathers and grandfathers in the wars of the past. They see the tanks coming. They do not understand what they are seeing. The colonel, a man named Kazimierz, a veteran of the Great War, orders a charge. He raises his saber. The sun catches the steel. His men follow, horses galloping, lances lowered, shouting their war cry. The German tank commander, a young lieutenant named Klaus, watches through his periscope. He cannot believe what he is seeing. Horses against tanks. He hesitates for a moment. Then he gives the order. Fire. The machine guns open up. The cannons boom. The cavalry charges into a wall of steel and fire. Horses scream, a sound worse than human screaming, a high, terrible noise that cuts through the roar of engines. Men are thrown, crushed, torn apart. In 3 minutes, the brigade ceases to exist. The field is littered with bodies, with dying horses, with lances snapped like twigs. Klaus orders his tank to halt. He opens the hatch and stands, looking at the carnage. He is 22 years old. He joined the army because his father was an officer, because it was expected, because the Depression left no other options. He did not expect this. He did not expect horses. He did not expect lancers. He expected a fight. This was not a fight. This was slaughter. He closes the hatch. The tank moves on. There is no time to think. There is only the mission. In Warsaw, the Polish capital, the government is in chaos. The German bombers have been hitting the city since dawn. The radio station is destroyed. The railway station is in flames. Columns of refugees clog the roads, fleeing east, away from the German advance. But the German planes strafe them from the air, turning the roads into killing grounds. In the American embassy, the ambassador watches from a window. He sees a woman running carrying a child. A Stuka dives, its siren screaming. The woman looks up, sees death coming, and throws herself over the child. The bombs land 50 meters away. She is lifted by the blast and thrown against a wall. She does not move. The child crawls out from under her, screaming, covered in her blood. The ambassador turns away. He cannot watch anymore, but he cannot stop hearing. In the British embassy, the diplomatic staff burns documents. The smoke rises from the chimneys, mixing with the smoke from the burning city. The ambassador, Sir Howard Kennard, sends a telegram to London. It is short. It says simply, German invasion continues. Warsaw under air attack. Request instructions. The instructions come back within hours. Britain and France have declared war on Germany. The date is September 3, 1939. 2 days after the invasion began. 2 days too late for Poland. In Berlin, Friedrich hears the news on the radio. He is in his apartment, the same small apartment, the same small table. The radio crackles and pops. The announcer's voice is triumphant. German forces are advancing on all fronts. Warsaw will fall within weeks. The Polish army is shattered. The war will be over by Christmas. Friedrich listens. He thinks of the Czech family he watched being marched out of their home. He thinks of the synagogue with the smashed windows. He thinks of the cavalry, somewhere out there, charging tanks on horseback. He does not feel triumph. He feels something else, something he cannot name. He looks at the photograph on his table, the only photograph he has left. Elsa, on their wedding day, young and beautiful and alive. She is smiling. He remembers that smile. He remembers the sound of her singing. He remembers the last winter, the pneumonia, the struggle for breath. He remembers holding her hand as she slipped away. He turns off the radio. The silence is louder than the announcer. On the Western Front, something strange happens. France and Britain have declared war, but they do not fight. The French army, millions of men, sits behind the Maginot Line, a massive chain of fortresses along the German border. They wait. They watch. They do nothing. The German army, what little of it is left in the West, is weak. A few divisions, second-rate troops, no tanks, no air cover. If the French attacked in September 1939, they could have walked into Germany. They could have ended the war before it began. But they do not attack. Their generals remember the Great War. They remember the trenches, the millions of dead, the years of slaughter. They are terrified of another war of attrition. They order their men to stay in their forts, to wait, to prepare. The German soldiers on the other side, the few who are there, stare across no man's land and cannot believe their luck. They build bunkers. They lay mines. They wait for an attack that never comes. This period will be called the phony war, or the Sitzkrieg, the sitting war. In France, it is called the drôle de guerre, the funny war. There is nothing funny about it. It is the calm before the storm, the last quiet moments before the world explodes. In Poland, the storm rages. Warsaw is surrounded. The city is under constant bombardment. There is no food, no water, no medicine. The hospitals are overflowing. The dead lie in the streets because there is no one to bury them. The living huddle in basements, listening to the bombs fall, listening to the walls shake, listening to each other breathe. A young girl, maybe 10 years old, sits in a basement with her grandmother. The grandmother is old, too old to run, too old to fight. She holds the girl close and sings to her a lullaby. The same lullaby she sang to the girl's mother 40 years ago. The bombs drown out the words, but the girl feels the vibration of the singing in her grandmother's chest. She closes her eyes. She pretends she is somewhere else. Above them, the German artillery finds the range. A shell hits the building next door. The basement collapses. The girl and her grandmother are buried under tons of rubble. They will not be found for weeks. September 17th, 1939. The Soviet Union invades Poland from the east. Stalin has made a deal with Hitler, a secret protocol in the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, signed just weeks before the war. They have divided Europe between them. Poland is to be split in half. The Polish army, already shattered by the Germans, now faces a new enemy. There is no hope, no escape. The government flees to Romania, then to France, then to London. The soldiers who can surrender. Those who cannot die. In a forest near the town of Katyn, Soviet secret police gather Polish officers, thousands of them. They are told they are being moved to a new camp. They are loaded onto trucks, driven into the forest, and told to get out. They stand in a clearing, confused, tired, hungry. They do not know what is coming. The machine guns are set up behind stacks of wood. They open fire. The officers fall. The ones who are not killed immediately are shot in the back of the head as they lie on the ground. The bodies are piled into mass graves. The forest is quiet again. The world will not learn about Katyn for years. The Soviet Union will deny it for decades. But the bodies are there, thousands of them, buried in the earth, under the trees, in a forest that saw everything and said nothing. September 28th, 1939. Warsaw falls. The last Polish forces surrender. Hitler orders a victory parade. He stands on a reviewing stand in the center of the city, watching his troops march past. The city around him is a ruin. Buildings are shells. Streets are rubble. Smoke rises from 1,000 fires. The smell of death is everywhere. Hitler does not seem to notice. He smiles. He waves. He watches his soldiers, his tanks, his planes, and he sees the future. He sees Paris next, then London, then Moscow, the whole world, kneeling at his feet. Behind him, in the ruins of Warsaw, a Polish boy crawls out of a basement. He is maybe 7 years old. His clothes are torn. His face is covered in dust and blood. He stands in the street, alone, surrounded by death, and watches the German parade. He does not cry. He does not move. He just watches. His eyes are empty. Everything he loved is gone. Everything he knew is destroyed. He is alone in the world. A German soldier sees him. For a moment, the soldier hesitates. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a piece of chocolate. He holds it out to the boy. The boy does not take it. He does not move. He just stares at the soldier with those empty eyes. The soldier puts the chocolate on the ground and walks away. The boy does not pick it up. He stands there, in the ruins of his city, in the ruins of his life, while the conquerors march past. The chocolate lies on the ground, untouched. A small, absurd detail in a world gone mad. The boy will die within the week. Typhus. Or starvation. Or simply the cold. It does not matter which. He is already dead. He just has not stopped breathing yet. In Berlin, Friedrich reads the newspaper. The headlines scream victory. Poland crushed in 4 weeks. The greatest military triumph in history. The war is over. Peace has returned. Friedrich puts down the paper. He looks out his window. The street below is quiet, normal. People go about their business, shopping, walking, talking. They do not know about the boy in Warsaw. They do not know about the cavalry. They do not know about the hospital in Wielun, the children in the pediatric ward, the nurses buried under the rubble. They know nothing, and they do not want to know. Winter comes. The phony war continues. French soldiers sit in their forts, playing cards, writing letters home, waiting. British soldiers arrive in France, thousands of them. The British Expeditionary Force. They are young, cheerful, confident. They pose for photographs. They smoke cigarettes. They flirt with French girls. They have no idea what is coming. In Germany, the army prepares for the next blow. The plans are drawn, the troops are trained, the tanks are built, the target is France, the date is spring, the name of the plan is Fall Gelb. Case yellow. Hitler reviews the plans in his headquarters. He is restless, impatient. He wants to attack now, immediately, before the winter sets in. His generals argue with him. The weather is too bad. The tanks will get stuck in the mud. The troops are not ready. Hitler listens. He fumes, he paces. But he waits. For now. In a small town in Belgium, a German plane crashes. It is carrying a German staff officer with the complete plans for the invasion of France. The plans fall into Belgian hands. The Belgians pass them to the French. The French study them. They conclude the plans are a fake, a trick. They ignore them. They are wrong. The plans are real. The invasion is coming. And nothing can stop it. Friedrich receives orders. He is being transferred. His unit is moving west, to the border with Belgium. He packs his few belongings. The photograph of Elsa, a change of clothes, a loaf of bread. He looks around his apartment one last time. He knows somehow that he will never see it again. He walks out the door. He does not lock it. There is nothing left to steal. The first image is not of battle. It is of silence. A vast, empty sky above the English Channel. The water below is gray, choppy, cold. For weeks, there has been nothing. The soldiers stationed along the white cliffs of Dover have grown bored. They watch the horizon. They smoke. They wait. The invasion everyone expected after the fall of France has not come. Then, on July 10th, 1940, the silence ends. The sound is distant at first, a drone, a hum. Then it grows, becomes a roar, becomes the throaty growl of 1,000 engines. The sky fills with dots, black dots, like flies against the blue. They are coming from France. They are coming from Norway. They are coming from everywhere. The soldiers grab their binoculars. They see them now. Heinkel bombers, with their wide wings and glass noses. Dornier bombers, sleek and fast. Messerschmitt fighters, escorting the bombers, weaving back and forth like wolves protecting the herd. The German Air Force, the Luftwaffe. And they are heading for England. The Battle of Britain has begun. In a small fighter base, somewhere in southern England, a young pilot named Richard sits in his cockpit. He is 22 years old. He joined the RAF a year ago because flying seemed exciting, because the pay was good, because his girlfriend liked the uniform. He never thought he would actually have to fight. Now he sits in his Supermarine Spitfire, the canvas smell of the cockpit filling his nostrils, the engine vibrating through the metal frame. He is terrified. His hands shake. His mouth is dry. He looks at the other pilots on the field. They are young too. Some of them are younger than him. They look scared too. But they are not running. They are not hiding. They are sitting in their planes, waiting for the order to take off. The order comes. Scramble. Richard's heart stops for a second. Then his training takes over. He fires the engine. The propeller spins, becomes a blur. He releases the brakes. The Spitfire lurches forward, bouncing across the grass field, gathering speed. The tail lifts. The ground falls away. He is flying. The climb is steep, urgent. He joins the other Spitfires, forming a squadron, climbing toward the sun. Below him, England spreads out like a patchwork quilt. Green fields, tiny villages, roads like gray threads. People down there are going about their lives. They do not know what is coming. Then he sees them. The German bombers. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. They are below him, flying in tight formation, heading for London. He feels a surge of rage. They are coming to kill his people, to burn his city, to destroy his world. He dives. The Spitfire accelerates, the engine screaming, the wind tearing at the wings. The bombers grow larger in his sights. He picks one, a Heinkel, centers it in his reflector sight, and presses the firing button. His 8 machine guns blaze. The vibration shakes the whole plane. Tracers stream toward the bomber. He sees strikes. Pieces fly off the Heinkel's wing. Smoke trails from its engine. The bomber falters, drops out of formation, begins its long fall toward the channel. Richard pulls up hard, the G-forces pressing him into his seat, blackness creeping at the edges of his vision. Around him, the sky has become a circus. Spitfires and Hurricanes twist and turn. German Messerschmitts chase them. Bombers explode, parachutes bloom, tracers crisscross the sky like deadly fireworks. Men are dying. Young men like him are being burned, torn apart, falling to their deaths. Richard has no time to think. Another bomber is in his sights. He fires again. Another hit. Another kill. He does not feel triumph. He feels nothing. There is only the next target, the next burst, the next second of survival. In Berlin, Friedrich watches newsreels of the battle. The German propaganda reels show bombers over London, fires blazing, the enemy cowering. They show German pilots, smiling, relaxed, counting their victories. They show the destruction of British cities as a triumph. Friedrich watches. He sees the faces of the British pilots in the footage. They are young. They are scared. They look exactly like the German pilots. They look like boys. Children, sent to kill each other because old men in Berlin and London cannot agree. He turns away from the screen. He cannot watch anymore. The battle rages through July, through August, into September. The RAF is outnumbered, outgunned. But they have something the Germans do not. They are fighting over their own soil. If they are shot down, they parachute into English fields, are picked up by English farmers, and are back in the air the next day. German pilots who are shot down go into prisoner of war camps, or into the Channel, or into the ground. They also have radar, a new technology, still primitive, but effective. The chain home stations along the coast can see the German formations while they are still over France. The RAF knows where they are coming, how many, how high. They can conserve their fuel, their energy, their lives. The Germans do not understand radar. They think the British have some secret advantage, some trick. They attack the radar stations, trying to destroy the mysterious towers. They succeed, temporarily. But the stations are repaired within hours. The Germans give up. They decide radar is not important. It is a mistake that will cost them the battle. In mid-August, the Germans change tactics. They stop targeting the airfields. They start targeting London. It is a strategic error. The RAF airfields were on the verge of collapse. Their pilots were exhausted. Their planes were running out. If the Germans had kept attacking the airfields for one more week, the RAF might have broken. But Hitler is angry. A few British bombers have raided Berlin. Not much damage, just a few bombs on the outskirts. But the propaganda value is enormous. The German people were told the war was won, that no enemy plane could reach Berlin. Now bombs have fallen on their capital. They are scared. They are angry. Hitler is furious. He orders the Luftwaffe to destroy London, to burn it to the ground, to break the spirit of the British people. On September 7th, the first massive raid hits London. 400 bombers, escorted by 600 fighters. The docks are set ablaze. The East End, the poor part of London, burns for days. The fires are so bright they can be seen from France. The smoke rises miles into the sky, a black pillar visible across the county. The Londoners do not break. They do not surrender, they do not panic. They go into the underground stations, the tube, and sleep on the platforms. They come out in the morning, see their homes in ruins, and go to work. They are fire watchers, air raid wardens, rescue workers. They are ordinary people doing extraordinary things. A woman named Margaret, a secretary in an insurance office, stands outside her flattened house. She is still wearing her nightgown, covered in dust. Her cat, somehow alive, rubs against her leg. She looks at the rubble that was her home, her life, her savings. She looks at the cat. She bends down and picks it up. She walks to the neighbor's house, which is still standing, and knocks on the door. The neighbor opens it. Margaret says, "Do you have any tea?" The neighbor bursts into tears. Margaret does not cry. She just stands there, holding her cat, waiting for tea. In the air, the battle continues. The RAF is shooting down German bombers at a terrible rate. The Germans are losing experienced pilots they cannot replace. The British are losing pilots too, but they are fighting over home, and many of them survive to fight again. September 15th, 1940, becomes the critical day. The Germans launch their biggest raid yet, Two waves of bombers heading for London. The RAF meets them with everything they have. The sky over London becomes a furnace. Planes fall from the sky like leaves. Parachutes drift down like dandelion seeds. By the end of the day, the Germans have lost 60 aircraft. The RAF has lost 26. It is a defeat for the Luftwaffe, a decisive defeat. 2 days later, Hitler postpones the invasion of England indefinitely. He never officially cancels it. He just lets it die. The first major defeat of the war. The first time the German war machine has been stopped. In Berlin, Friedrich hears the news. The invasion is off. The war with England will continue, but from the air, not the ground. He does not know what to feel. Relief? Disappointment? He cannot tell anymore. He walks through the streets of Berlin. The city is dark, blacked out against British bombers. The streetlights are off. The windows are covered. People move in shadows, like ghosts. He passes a group of Hitler youth, boys of 14 or 15, marching in formation, singing. Their voices echo off the buildings. He thinks of Richard, the British pilot he saw in the newsreel, the scared young man in the Spitfire. He thinks of the German pilots, equally scared, equally young. He thinks of the woman in London, standing in her nightgown, holding her cat. He thinks of the boy in Warsaw, the empty eyes, the chocolate on the ground. He keeps walking. There is nowhere else to go. Now the camera shifts east to a massive complex of buildings in Berlin, the Reich Chancellery. Inside, in a vast office decorated with marble and tapestries, Adolf Hitler paces. He is furious. Furious at the RAF. Furious at the English Channel, that narrow strip of water that has saved Britain. Furious at the weather, the coming winter, the delay. His generals stand around a large map table, silent, waiting. On the table is a map of Europe. The German conquests are marked in black. France, Belgium, Holland, Norway, Denmark, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Austria. A vast empire stretching from the Atlantic to the edge of Russia. But Hitler is not satisfied. He looks east, at the map of the Soviet Union, at the vast spaces, the wheat fields, the oil fields, the factories, at the enemy he has always wanted to destroy: communism, Slavs, the Untermenschen, the subhumans. He stops pacing. He points at the map, at the border between German-occupied Poland and the Soviet Union. His finger traces a line, a long line, from the Baltic Sea in the north to the Black Sea in the south. He speaks. His voice is quiet at first. Then it rises. He tells them his decision. The decision he has always intended to make. The decision that will seal his fate and the fate of millions. They will invade the Soviet Union. In the spring. As soon as the ground dries, they will destroy the Red Army in a single campaign, a lightning campaign, before the winter comes. They will take the wheat, the oil, the land. They will create Lebensraum, living space, for the German people. They will wipe out Bolshevism forever. The generals are shocked. Some of them try to argue. A two-front war. The mistake that doomed Germany in 1914. The vast distances. The Russian winter. The Red Army. Huge. Perhaps not as weak as they think. Hitler dismisses them. He knows better. He has always known better. The Soviet Union is a rotten structure. A kick in the door, and the whole thing will collapse. The campaign will last 6 weeks. 8 at most. By autumn, the war will be over. The generals look at each other. They say nothing. They have learned not to argue with Hitler when his mind is made up. They salute. They leave. The plans begin. December 18th, 1940. Hitler signs Directive Number 21, The code name is Operation Barbarossa, named for a medieval German emperor, Frederick Barbarossa, who died on a crusade. The irony is lost on Hitler. Or perhaps he does not care. The directive is clear. The German armed forces must be prepared to crush Soviet Russia in a quick campaign before the end of the war against England. Preparations must be completed by May 15th, 1941. The date is set. The machine begins to move. In the east, on the border between Germany and the Soviet Union, something strange happens. In the weeks before the invasion, German reconnaissance planes fly over Soviet territory. The Soviets do not shoot them down. Stalin has forbidden it. He does not want to provoke Hitler. British intelligence warns Stalin. The Germans are coming. The Americans warn Stalin. His own spies warn Stalin. A German deserter swims across a river and tells the Soviet commander the exact date and time of the attack. Stalin ignores them all. He believes Hitler will not attack. He believes the non-aggression pact is solid. He believes the warnings are British provocations, designed to drag the Soviet Union into a war with Germany. He is wrong. He is terribly, catastrophically wrong. On the German side of the border, the troops are moving into position. 3 million men, 3,000 tanks, 7,000 artillery pieces, 2,500 aircraft. The largest invasion force in the history of the world. They are told they are going on a training exercise. Or they are going to the rear to rest. Or they are going to build defenses. Anything but the truth. The truth is too big, too secret, too terrifying. Friedrich is among them. His unit has been transferred east to a staging area near the border. He looks across the river, into the Soviet Union. He sees nothing. Trees, fields, a few villages. It looks peaceful, quiet, normal. He does not know what is coming. None of them do. They think they are going to another France, another easy victory, another triumphant parade. They have no idea. The night of June 21st, 1941, the longest day of the year. The troops are awake, waiting. The officers check their watches. The artillerymen load their guns. The pilots sit in their cockpits. The tank crews start their engines. At 3:15 in the morning, the first shells fly. Thousands of them, tens of thousands. They arc across the border, into the Soviet Union, into the sleeping villages, the unsuspecting cities, the unprepared army. The largest land invasion in history has begun. In a Soviet border town, a young woman named Anna is jolted awake by the explosions. She runs to the window. The sky is lit with flashes. The ground shakes. She hears screaming from the street. She grabs her little brother, pulls him under the bed, holds him close. She does not know what is happening. She does not know that her world, her country, her life is about to be destroyed. The first German tanks cross the border at dawn. They roll through the wheat fields, crushing the crops, crushing anything in their path. The Soviet soldiers, those who survive the bombardment, come out of their bunkers with their hands up. They were not expecting this. They were not ready. They surrender by the thousands. But not all of them. Some fight. Some fight with desperate, insane courage. A single Soviet gunner, his position surrounded, fires his cannon until he runs out of shells. Then he picks up a rifle. Then he picks up a shovel. Then he picks up a rock. They kill him finally, but not before he has killed a dozen Germans. Friedrich watches all of this from the back of a truck. He is not a fighter. He is support. Logistics. He drives past burning villages, past columns of prisoners, past bodies lying in the road. He sees things he cannot process. A child, no more than 3, sitting next to its dead mother, crying. An old man hanged from a tree, a sign around his neck reading, "Partisan." A farmhouse filled with women and children, the door nailed shut, the house on fire. He wants to look away. He cannot. The images burn into his brain. They will never leave. The German advance is fast, faster than anyone expected. The Soviet army is collapsing. Entire armies are surrounded, destroyed, captured. 300,000 prisoners in the first weeks. 500,000. 1,000,000. But the Germans do not find victory. They find something else. They find the distances. The roads turn to mud. The supply lines stretch thin. The tanks break down. The men get tired. And still, the Soviet Union stretches ahead of them, endless, vast, swallowing them up. In Berlin, the newspapers scream victory. The radio announces triumph after triumph. But in the East, the soldiers know the truth. This is not France. This is not Poland. This is something else. This is a war without end. Friedrich sits by a campfire one night, deep in the Russian forest. Around him, the other men are silent. They do not sing. They do not laugh. They just stare into the flames, thinking of home, thinking of the families they will never see again. Friedrich reaches into his pocket. He pulls out the photograph of Elsa. He looks at her face, frozen in time, young and beautiful and alive. He wonders what she would think of him now, what she would think of this place, this war, this darkness. He puts the photograph away. He stares into the fire. Somewhere in the distance he hears wolves howling, or maybe it is just the wind. He cannot tell any more. The fire crackles. The night deepens. The war rolls on. The first image is not a battle. It is a road. A long, straight road through a forest in western Russia. It is August 1941. The road is paved with bodies. German soldiers lie where they fell, their gray uniforms dark with dried blood. Soviet soldiers lie among them, their brown uniforms torn, their faces frozen in the last moment of agony. Horses lie too, their legs stiff in the air, their bellies bloated. The smell is indescribable. It is the smell of death multiplied 1,000 times, a thick, sweet, rotten stench that coats the throat, that seeps into clothing, that never washes out. A German staff car picks its way through the carnage. In the back seat, a general stares out the window. He has seen war before. He fought in France and Poland in the Great War. He has never seen anything like this. The bodies are not lined up in neat rows. They are tangled together, German and Soviet, as if they died grappling with each other, as if even death could not separate them. The road is not a road anymore. It is a graveyard. The general's name is Heinz Guderian. He is the master of the Panzer, the creator of Blitzkrieg. He believed, like Hitler, that the Soviet Union would collapse in weeks. He does not believe it anymore. He looks at the bodies, at the endless forest, at the dust rising from the column ahead, and he feels something he has not felt since the last war: fear. The car stops. A messenger runs up, salutes, hands him a report. Guderian reads it. His face does not change, but his hand tightens on the paper. The report says that Army Group Center has advanced 400 miles. It says they have captured 300,000 prisoners. It says they have destroyed thousands of tanks. And it says they are running out of fuel, out of ammunition, out of men. And Moscow is still 200 miles away. Guderian looks up. He stares into the forest. Somewhere in those trees, he knows, the Soviet soldiers are watching, waiting, regrouping. They are not beaten. They are not broken. They are just beginning. The camera shifts to a city on the Neva River. Leningrad, September 1941. The Germans have surrounded it. They cannot take it by storm, so they will take it by starvation. Hitler has made his decision. Leningrad must cease to exist. It must be wiped from the earth. There will be no surrender. There will be no negotiation. There will be only death. Inside the city, 900,000 civilians remain. They are mostly women, children, the elderly. The men have gone to the front, or died trying to defend the approaches, or are already buried in the cemeteries that are filling faster than graves can be dug. A woman named Olga stands in line at a bakery. She has been standing for 6 hours. The temperature is 15 degrees below zero. She wears everything she owns: 3 dresses, 2 coats, a shawl, men's trousers stuffed with newspaper. Her feet are wrapped in rags. Her shoes fell apart weeks ago. She does not feel her feet anymore. She does not feel much of anything. The line moves forward. 1 step, then another. The woman ahead of her collapses. She falls silently, without a sound, like a sack of potatoes. No one helps her. No one looks at her. They step over her body and keep moving. There is no time for the dead. There is only bread. Olga reaches the counter. The baker, a skeletal man with hollow eyes, hands her a piece of bread. 125 grams. That is the ration. That is all that stands between her and death. She takes it. She does not eat it. She will take it home, to her daughter, a girl of 7 named Katya. She will give the bread to Katya. She will watch Katya eat. That is enough. She walks home through streets that look like a nightmare. The buildings are scarred by shell fire. The windows are boarded or broken. The snow is gray with ash. A horse lies dead in the street, its flesh already carved away by hungry hands. A man sits against a wall, his eyes open, his mouth open, a thin film of ice covering his face. He has been dead for days. No one has moved him. There is no one left to move anyone. Olga reaches her apartment. It is cold. Colder inside than outside. She has burned the furniture, the books, the floorboards, anything to make heat. Now there is nothing left to burn. She climbs the stairs, her legs screaming, her breath coming in gasps. She opens the door. Katya is lying on the bed, under every blanket they own, under Olga's coat, under rags. She is so thin her bones show through her skin. Her eyes are huge in her tiny face. She looks at her mother. She does not ask for bread. She does not ask for anything anymore. Olga sits on the bed. She breaks the bread into tiny pieces. She feeds them to Katya, one by one. Katya chews slowly, saving each crumb. When the bread is gone, Olga lies down next to her daughter. She holds her. They share what little body heat they have. Outside, the shells fall, the city burns, the winter deepens, the siege will last 872 days. More than 1 million people will die. Olga and Katya may be among them, or they may survive. The camera does not know. It only watches. Now the scene shifts south, to the banks of the Volga River, to a city that will become the most famous battlefield in the world. Stalingrad, August 1942. The German Sixth Army, 250,000 men, the best troops Hitler has, approaches the city. They have marched across the steppe, through the heat, through the dust, through the constant skirmishes with Soviet rearguards. They are tired, but they are confident. Stalingrad is just another city. It will fall like all the others. The commander of the Sixth Army is Friedrich Paulus. He is a staff officer, a planner, a man who has never commanded an army in battle. He is handsome, polished, professional. He believes in Hitler. He believes in Germany. He believes this campaign will make his reputation. He stands on a hill overlooking the city. Below him, Stalingrad stretches along the western bank of the Volga. It is a long, thin city, industrial, ugly, built around factories that produce tanks and tractors. Smoke rises from the chimneys. The river glints in the sun. It looks peaceful, quiet. Paulus lowers his binoculars. He issues the orders. The Sixth Army will take Stalingrad in 3 days. He is wrong. He is terribly wrong. In Stalingrad, the Soviets prepare. They are outnumbered, outgunned, out of time, but they have something the Germans do not. They have orders from Stalin. Not just orders, a command. The city bears his name. It cannot fall. It will not fall. Everyone in Stalingrad must fight. Soldiers, workers, women, children, anyone who can hold a rifle, anyone who can throw a Molotov cocktail, anyone who can die taking one German with them. A Soviet soldier named Vasily lies in the ruins of a factory. He is a sniper. Before the war, he was a shepherd in the Urals. He hunted wolves to protect his flock. Now he hunts Germans. He lies motionless among the broken bricks, his rifle wrapped in rags to hide the gleam, his breath slow and controlled. He has been here for 6 hours. He will wait 6 more if he has to. Below him, in what was once a workshop, German soldiers move cautiously. They are new replacements, young, scared. They have heard about the snipers. They have heard about the city where death comes from nowhere, where every shadow hides a killer. One of them steps into Vasily's sight. A clean shot, 200 meters, no wind. Vasily's finger tightens on the trigger. He breathes out. He squeezes. The German falls. The others dive for cover. Vasily does not move. He slides back into the shadows, disappears into the ruins. He will find another spot, another shot, another kill. This is his city now. These ruins are his home. The battle for Stalingrad is not a battle. It is something else. It is a war inside a city, inside buildings, inside rooms. The Germans advance block by block, house by house, floor by floor. They take a building, and the Soviets counterattack from the basement. They take the first floor, and the Soviets fire from the second. They take the second, and the Soviets blow the stairs, trapping them. The fighting is hand-to-hand. Bayonets, knives, shovels, fists, teeth. Men die staring into each other's eyes. They die clutching each other, strangling each other, stabbing each other. They die in cellars and attics and sewers. They die screaming in languages the other cannot understand. But the meaning is always the same. Terror, rage, despair. Friedrich is not in Stalingrad. He is further north, with Army Group Center, still trying to reach Moscow. But he hears about Stalingrad. The rumors spread through the ranks. A city on the Volga, a slaughterhouse, a graveyard for entire divisions. The men listen in silence. They look east, toward the horizon, and they wonder if that is where they will die too. Winter comes, the worst winter in decades. The temperature drops to 40 below, 50 below. The German army is not equipped for this. They have summer uniforms, summer boots, summer oil that freezes in the engines. They have no winter shelters, no winter food, no winter medicine. They have only the conviction that the war would be over by winter, a conviction that is now killing them. Frostbite is worse than bullets. Men's toes turn black and fall off. Their fingers snap like twigs. Their ears crack and bleed. The medics amputate without anesthetic. Because anesthetic ran out months ago. The screaming never stops. In a field hospital near Moscow, a German doctor works by candlelight. His name is Erich. Before the war, he was a surgeon in Munich, respected, wealthy, happy. Now he lives in a tent, wearing every piece of clothing he owns, operating on men who will die anyway. He does not have enough morphine. He does not have enough bandages. He does not have enough hope. A soldier is brought in. He is young, 19 maybe. Both legs are gone below the knee. Frozen, then shattered by a Soviet shell. His face is gray. His eyes are open, staring at the tent ceiling. He is not screaming. He is beyond screaming. Erich looks at him. He knows there is nothing he can do. The wounds are too severe. The infection is too advanced. The boy will be dead by morning. But Erich cannot say that. He cannot tell the boy he is going to die. So he does what he can. He gives him morphine. He covers him with a blanket. He holds his hand. The boy looks at him. His lips move. He is trying to say something. Erich leans close. "Mutti," the boy whispers. "Mother." Erich squeezes his hand. He does not know what to say. He has no words. He just holds on. The boy dies at dawn. Erich does not sleep. He sits with the body until the burial detail comes. Then he goes back to work. There are more boys. There are always more boys. In Berlin, the propaganda continues. The newsreels show German soldiers smiling, waving, advancing. They show maps with arrows pointing east, always east. They show Hitler, confident, decisive, leading the nation to victory. But in the cities, the people are beginning to doubt. The letters from the front are not like the newsreels. The letters speak of cold, of death, of endless forests and endless enemies. The women read them in secret, then hide them, then read them again. They do not show them to anyone. They do not need to. The fear is already in their eyes. Back in Stalingrad, November arrives. The German 6th Army is exhausted. They have taken 90% of the city, but they cannot take the last 10%. The Soviets cling to the riverbank, firing from the ruins, refusing to die. The Germans have lost half their men. The survivors are hollow, empty, moving like automatons. Paulus sends a message to Hitler. The army is spent. They cannot continue the offensive. They need to withdraw, regroup, rest. Hitler's reply comes within hours. No retreat. The 6th Army will hold its positions. They will be supplied by air until reinforcements arrive. They will not give up 1 meter of ground. Paulus reads the message. He looks out his window at the city, at the smoke, at the ruins, at the frozen corpses lying in the streets. He knows the air supply will never work. The Luftwaffe does not have enough planes. The Soviets will cut them off. They are trapped. He is right. On November 19th, the Soviets launch Operation Uranus, a massive counterattack north and south of the city. The Romanian armies guarding the German flanks collapse in hours. The Soviet pincers meet at Kalach 4 days later. The 6th Army is surrounded. 250,000 German soldiers are trapped in a pocket 50 miles long and 30 miles wide. The news reaches Friedrich at his post. He hears the whispers. Stalingrad is surrounded. The 6th Army is doomed. He thinks of the men there freezing, starving, fighting. He thinks of their mothers, their wives, their children, waiting for letters that will never come. He thinks of himself. He thinks of the photograph of Elsa in his pocket. He thinks of the bread lines, the dead horse, the empty years. He thinks of all the death he has seen, all the death he has been part of. And for the first time, he allows himself to think the unthinkable. We are going to lose. In Stalingrad, the last act begins. The Luftwaffe tries to supply the pocket. They fly in when the weather permits, which is rarely. They drop supplies, but never enough. The men get 200 grams of bread a day, then 100, then 50. They eat their horses. They eat dogs. They do not have the strength to bury them. The cold is unimaginable. Men freeze to death in their sleep. They wake up next to corpses. They do not have the strength to bury them. The bodies pile up, freeze solid, become part of the landscape. The Soviets tighten the ring. They attack constantly, wearing down the defenders. The Germans fight back with desperate courage, but they are dying. Dying of starvation, of cold, of wounds, of despair. Christmas comes. In a basement somewhere in the ruins, a group of German soldiers huddle together. One of them, a Catholic priest before the war, leads a service. There is no church, no altar, no music, just a few men, starving and frozen, praying to a God they are not sure exists anymore. The priest reads from a small Bible he has carried through the entire war. He reads the Christmas story, the birth in Bethlehem, the angels, the shepherds, the hope. When he finishes, no one speaks. They sit in silence, listening to the wind, listening to the distant rumble of Soviet artillery. One of the men, a young corporal, starts to cry. He does not make a sound. The tears just run down his face, freezing on his cheeks. No one looks at him. They understand. January 1943. The end approaches. The Soviets offer surrender terms, decent treatment, medical care, food, survival. Paulus asks Hitler for permission to surrender. Hitler refuses. The Sixth Army will fight to the last man. They will die for Germany. They will make the ultimate sacrifice. The men in the pocket do not know about the offer. They do not know that their lives could be saved. They only know that they are dying, dying in a frozen hell for a cause that is already lost. January 31st, 1943. Paulus surrenders. Not with his whole army, but with his staff. He is promoted to field marshal just before the end. Hitler expects him to commit suicide. No German field marshal has ever been captured alive. Paulus does not commit suicide. He surrenders. He walks into Soviet captivity with his head held high, but his eyes empty. He will spend the next 10 years in Soviet prisons. He will testify at Nuremberg. He will never see Germany again. The last German soldiers hold out for 2 more days. They fight in cellars, in sewers, in the ruins of factories. They fight until their ammunition runs out, until their strength runs out, until their hope runs out. Then they surrender too. Of the 250,000 men who entered Stalingrad, 91,000 survived to surrender. They are marched into captivity, starving, frozen, broken. They will spend years in Soviet prison camps. Fewer than 6,000 will ever see Germany again. The camera follows one of them, a young soldier, maybe 20, stumbling through the snow. His uniform is rags. His feet are wrapped in rags. His face is a mask of frostbite and exhaustion. He does not look up. He does not look around. He just puts one foot in front of the other because that is all he can do. Behind him, Stalingrad burns. The city is rubble. The dead are everywhere. The Volga flows red with blood. The greatest battle in human history is over. In Berlin, the news is announced with solemn music and lowered flags. The defeat is not called a defeat. It is called a sacrifice. The Sixth Army died so that Germany might live. The propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels, goes on radio and calls for total war, total mobilization. Every man, every woman, every child, every resource dedicated to the final victory. But in the streets, the people know. They see the lists of the dead. They see the women in black. They see the empty eyes of the soldiers who come home. They know that Stalingrad was not a sacrifice. It was a disaster. And it will not be the last. Friedrich receives a letter. It is from the army, informing him that his nephew, his sister's only son, was killed at Stalingrad. The boy was 19. He joined because he believed the propaganda. He believed in glory, in victory, in the 1,000-year Reich. Friedrich holds the letter. He stares at the words. He thinks of the boy, of his sister, of the life that will never be lived. He thinks of Elsa, of the photograph in his pocket, of all the dead he has seen. He folds the letter carefully and puts it in his pocket, next to the photograph. He goes back to work. There is nothing else to do. The war is not over. It is just beginning its most terrible phase. The Germans have lost an army, but they still have millions of men. The Soviets have won a victory, but they have lost millions more. The killing will continue. The dying will continue. The darkness will deepen. And somewhere, in a basement in a ruined city, a young girl named Katya lies next to her mother, both of them still alive, somehow, still breathing, still hoping. They do not know about Stalingrad. They do not know about the war. They only know that tomorrow they will stand in line again for another 125 grams of bread. And that is enough. That is everything. The first image is water. Calm, blue, peaceful water. It is early morning, on December 7th, 1941, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The sun is just rising, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Below the surface, fish move in schools, oblivious to what is about to happen. Above the surface, there is nothing but horizon in every direction. Then the water breaks, not with a fish or a whale, with steel. A periscope slices through the surface, rotating slowly, scanning the empty sea. Below it, hidden in the depths, a submarine moves silently. But it is not alone. All around it, more periscopes rise, more submarines. A fleet of them, moving in formation, heading east. The camera does not follow them. It rises instead into the clouds, across the ocean, thousands of miles. It descends over a chain of islands in the middle of the Pacific. Hawaii. On the southern coast of the largest island, Oahu, a harbor curves into the land. Pearl Harbor. It is Sunday morning. The American Pacific Fleet is at anchor. Battleships line Battleship Row, 8 of them, the pride of the Navy, huge and gray and majestic. The USS Arizona, the USS Oklahoma, the USS California. They sit in the water like sleeping giants, their crews still in their bunks, dreaming of home. On the shore, soldiers sleep in their barracks. Sailors drink coffee in mess halls. Civilians prepare for church. The sky is clear. The day is beautiful. It is the kind of morning that makes you believe everything is right with the world. At 7:02 a.m., a private at a radar station on the northern tip of the island sees something on his screen. A blip, a big blip, the largest he has ever seen. He calls his superior. The superior looks at the screen, thinks for a moment, and says not to worry. It must be a flight of American B-17s coming in from California. They are expected today. Ignore it. The private obeys. He turns off the screen. He does not watch the blip grow larger, closer, more numerous. At 7:48 a.m., the first Japanese planes appear over the northern shore. They are torpedo bombers, dive bombers, fighters. They come in low, skimming the waves, their engines roaring. They come in high, diving from the clouds, their wings glinting in the sun. They come from every direction, a swarm of death descending on an unsuspecting target. On the USS Arizona, a sailor named James is standing on deck, enjoying the morning air. He hears a sound, a drone. He looks up. He sees the planes. For a moment he is confused. They are not American planes. They have red circles on their wings. He does not recognize the symbol. He does not have time to recognize it. The first bomb hits the Arizona at 7:55. It penetrates the deck, explodes in the forward magazine. The ship erupts. A column of fire shoots 1,000 feet into the air. The entire bow of the ship lifts out of the water, then falls back, broken. James is gone. He does not feel anything. He does not see anything. He simply ceases to exist, along with 1,176 of his shipmates. All around the harbor, the same scene repeats. Torpedoes streak through the water, slamming into battleships. Bombs rain down on airfields, destroying planes lined up wing to wing. Fighters strafe the barracks, the hospitals, the roads. Men run, fall, die. The water burns with spilled fuel. The sky fills with smoke. The noise is indescribable. It is the sound of a world ending. In Honolulu, a young Japanese-American woman named Emmy hears the explosions from her home. She runs outside. She sees the smoke rising from Pearl Harbor. She does not know what is happening. She does not know that her life, her family's life, is about to change forever. By 9:45 a.m., it is over. The Japanese planes withdraw, leaving behind a scene of absolute devastation. 18 American ships are sunk or damaged. Nearly 300 aircraft are destroyed. 2,400 Americans are dead. Another 1,000 are wounded. In Tokyo, the news is greeted with celebration. The emperor is informed. The military leaders congratulate themselves. They have delivered a blow from which America will never recover. They have bought time to conquer the resource-rich lands of Southeast Asia. They have won. They are wrong. They have done something else. They have awakened a sleeping giant. They have filled the American people with a rage that will not be satisfied until Tokyo lies in ruins. In Washington, President Franklin Roosevelt prepares to address Congress. He sits at his desk, editing his speech, his face grim. His advisors tell him the speech must be short, powerful, unforgettable. The next day, he speaks to a joint session of Congress and to the nation, broadcast on radio to millions of Americans gathered around their sets. His voice is strong, steady, but there is anger in it. Anger and sorrow. He calls December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. He asks Congress to declare war on Japan. The vote is unanimous in the Senate, nearly unanimous in the House. America is at war. 3 days later, Germany and Italy declare war on the United States. Hitler makes the decision himself, despite his general's advice. He does not have to. The Tripartite Pact does not require it. But he believes Japan is strong, America is weak, and the war is already won. It is one of the worst decisions in human history. The world is now truly at war. Every continent, every ocean, every nation. The fire has spread everywhere. The camera moves across the Pacific, following the Japanese advance. It is terrifying in its speed. Hong Kong falls on Christmas Day. Wake Island falls the same day. Manila falls on January 2nd. Singapore, the greatest British fortress in Asia, falls on February 15th. 80,000 British and Australian soldiers march into captivity. It is the largest surrender in British history. In the Dutch East Indies, the Japanese want oil. They get it. In Burma, they want to cut the supply road to China. They cut it. In the Philippines, American and Filipino soldiers fight desperately, but they are outnumbered, outgunned, and out of time. A young American soldier named Ben is among them. He is from a small town in Iowa, a farm boy who joined the army because it seemed like an adventure. Now he is marching through the jungles of Bataan, starving, sick with malaria, his uniform in rags. Around him, thousands of other Americans and Filipinos march the same march. They have surrendered. They are prisoners now. The Japanese do not treat prisoners well. They see surrender as dishonor. They have no supplies for these men. They have no food, no medicine, no water. They march them 60 miles through the jungle, under a brutal sun, beating anyone who falls, shooting anyone who cannot get up. Ben walks. He does not know how. He just puts one foot in front of the other. He drinks from carabao wallows, the muddy water where water buffalo bathe. He eats grass when he can. He watches men die around him, shot, bayoneted, simply falling and never rising. On the third day, he falls. He cannot get up. His legs will not work. He lies in the dust, waiting for the bullet. It does not come. A Japanese soldier kicks him, screams at him, but Ben does not move. The soldier shrugs and moves on. There are too many to kill them all. Ben lies there for hours. Then somehow he gets up. He walks again. He reaches the camp. He will survive. He will never forget. He will never forgive. The Bataan Death March will claim thousands of lives. The exact number is never known. The Japanese do not keep records of the dead. They do not care. Now the camera shifts again. To the middle of the Pacific. To a tiny atoll called Midway. June 1942. The Japanese plan to finish what they started at Pearl Harbor. They will lure the American aircraft carriers into a trap and destroy them. They will eliminate American naval power forever. They have overwhelming force. They have the best pilots in the world. They have the element of surprise. But the Americans have something the Japanese do not. Code breakers. They have broken the Japanese naval code. They know the plan. They know the date. They know the target. They are waiting. On the morning of June 4th, Japanese planes attack Midway Island. They bomb the airfield, the installations, the defenses. But the American carriers are not there. They are hidden over the horizon, waiting for their moment. American dive bombers find the Japanese fleet at exactly the wrong moment for Japan. The Japanese carriers are refueling and rearming their planes. Their decks are covered with fuel hoses, bombs, torpedoes. They are floating bombs, waiting for a spark. The American dive bombers come screaming out of the sun. The dauntless dive bombers, clumsy and slow but deadly accurate. They push over into their dives, the wind screaming past their wings. The Japanese look up. They see the planes. They see the bombs falling. They have no time to react. The first bomb hits the carrier Kaga. It penetrates the flight deck, explodes among the fueled planes. The ship becomes an inferno. The second hits the Akagi, the flagship, same result. The Soryu follows. Within 5 minutes, 3 Japanese carriers are burning, dying, sinking. The fourth carrier, the Hiryu, fights back. Its planes find the American carrier Yorktown. They hit it with bombs and torpedoes. The Yorktown will eventually sink. But the Hiryu is found and destroyed in turn. When the sun sets on June 4th, Japan has lost 4 carriers, 1 heavy cruiser, and more than 250 aircraft. Thousands of their best pilots are dead. The tide in the Pacific has turned. It will never turn back. An American pilot, a young man named George, lands on his carrier after the battle. He is shaking. He cannot stop shaking. He shot down 2 Japanese planes. He bombed a carrier. He watched men die. He climbs out of his cockpit and falls to his knees on the flight deck. He does not pray. He just kneels, his head down, his body trembling. Other pilots gather around him. No one speaks. They have won, but it does not feel like winning. It feels like survival. And survival, they are learning, is not the same as victory. The war in the Pacific is different from the war in Europe. The enemy does not surrender. They fight to the death. They charge into machine guns screaming, "Banzai!" They strap explosives to their bodies and throw themselves under tanks. They jump from cliffs rather than be captured. They believe death is better than dishonor, and they prove it every day. The Americans learn to hate them. They learn to see them as animals, as fanatics, as less than human. It is the only way to keep killing, the only way to survive. On Guadalcanal, in the Solomon Islands, the first American offensive begins. Marines land on August 7th, 1942. They expect light resistance. They find something else. The Japanese fight for every inch of jungle, every ridge, every river. They fight at night, infiltrating American lines, killing sleeping men. They fight until they die, and they die in thousands. A Marine named Robert lies in a foxhole on Guadalcanal. It is night. He can hear the Japanese moving in the jungle, whispering, calling out to each other. They are getting closer. He grips his rifle, his hands are sweating, his heart is pounding. He is 17 years old. He lied about his age to join up. He wanted to be a hero. Now he wants to be anywhere else. The Japanese charge. They come screaming out of the darkness, bayonets fixed, waving swords. Robert fires. He fires again. He does not aim. He just points and pulls the trigger. Men fall. More come. He keeps firing. When it is over, the bodies are piled in front of his foxhole. He cannot count them. He does not want to. He sits in the darkness, covered in blood that is not his own, and he cries. He cries for the men he killed. He cries for himself. He cries for the world that made this possible. The battle for Guadalcanal lasts 6 months. It is a meat grinder, a nightmare of jungle rot and tropical disease and constant death. When it is over, the Americans have won. But the cost is terrible. Thousands dead. Thousands more wounded. Thousands more broken in ways that will never heal. In Europe, the war continues. The Soviets are pushing west, slowly, bloodily, after their victory at Stalingrad. The British and Americans are planning something big. An invasion, a return to the continent. They call it D-Day, and it is coming. But the Pacific is different. The Pacific is personal. The Pacific is a war of extermination, where every island must be taken, every cave cleared, every defender killed. There is no surrender. There is no mercy. There is only death, and then a little more. The camera follows a Japanese soldier named Hiroshi. He is on an island called Tarawa, in the Gilbert Islands. November 1943. He is 20 years old. He is a student from Tokyo, conscripted 2 years ago. He wanted to be a teacher. Now he is a machine gunner in a bunker, waiting for the Americans to come. They come at dawn. The shelling is terrible. The entire island shakes. Hiroshi huddles in his bunker, covering his ears, praying to his ancestors. When the shelling stops, he looks out. The lagoon is filled with American landing craft, hundreds of them, crawling toward the beach like metal insects. He opens fire. His machine gun chatters. He sees Americans fall. He does not think about them. He does not think about their families, their dreams, their lives. He just fires. It is the only way to survive. The Americans keep coming. They wade through the water, through the coral, through the fire. They fall in rows. But they keep coming. They reach the beach. They dig in. They fight. The battle lasts 3 days. When it is over, nearly all the Japanese defenders are dead. Hiroshi is among them. He died on the second day, killed by a grenade thrown into his bunker. He never became a teacher. He never went home. He is just another name on a list, another body in a mass grave, another life thrown into the furnace of war. On the American side, a photographer named Norman captures the aftermath. He walks among the dead, his camera clicking. The bodies are everywhere, American and Japanese tangled together in the sand. The smell is already beginning. The flies are already gathering. Norman stops at the body of a young Marine. The boy cannot be more than 18. He lies on his back, his eyes open, his face peaceful. He could be sleeping. Norman raises his camera, then he lowers it. He cannot take this picture. He cannot turn this boy into an image. He walks on. He will take other pictures, pictures that will shock the world, pictures that will show the reality of war. But this one boy, this one moment, he keeps for himself, a private memory of a public horror. The war in the Pacific continues, island by island, death by death. Iwo Jima, Okinawa. The names become synonyms for slaughter. On Iwo Jima, the Marines raise the flag on Mount Suribachi. It is the most famous photograph of the war. But the battle is not over. It will continue for weeks, and thousands more will die. On Okinawa, the last battle, the worst battle, the Japanese fight with desperate, suicidal fury. Kamikaze pilots crash their planes into American ships. Civilians jump from cliffs rather than surrender. The death toll is staggering. American casualties, 50,000. Japanese military casualties, 100,000. Japanese civilian casualties, 150,000. A young American sailor named Thomas is on a destroyer off Okinawa. He watches a kamikaze dive toward his ship. The plane is on fire, but it keeps coming. The gunner's fire hit it, but it does not stop. It slams into the ship next to his. The explosion is enormous. The ship breaks in half and sinks in minutes. Thomas watches men jump into the burning water, watches them die, watches them disappear. He does not know it yet, but that image will stay with him forever. He will see it in his dreams. He will see it when he closes his eyes. He will see it on his deathbed. 60 years from now, the burning ship, the burning water, the burning men. In Europe, the war is ending. The Soviets are in Berlin. Hitler is dead. Germany surrenders. But in the Pacific, Japan fights on. They have millions of soldiers. They have thousands of planes. They have a population prepared to die for the emperor. The Americans plan an invasion. They call it Operation Downfall. They estimate the casualties in the millions. Then something happens. Something that changes everything. Something that ends the war and begins a new age. The first atomic bomb explodes over Hiroshima on August 6, 1945. The second explodes over Nagasaki on August 9th. The destruction is beyond comprehension. Entire cities vanish in seconds. 100,000 people die instantly. Tens of thousands more die slowly. from radiation, from burns, from poisoning. Emperor Hirohito surrenders on August 15th. The war is over. Finally, completely, impossibly over. In Tokyo, a young woman named Yuki stands in the ruins of her city. Her house is gone. Her family is gone. Everything she knew is gone. She looks at the sky, at the sun, at the world that continues to turn despite everything. She does not know what to feel. She does not know how to feel. In a prison camp in the Philippines, Ben hears the news. He is still alive, still surviving, still waiting. The guards disappear. The gates open. He walks out into the sunlight, a free man for the first time in 3 years. He does not cheer. He does not celebrate. He just walks, one step at a time, toward a future he never thought he would have. In Iowa, a mother receives a telegram. Her son, the one she prayed for every night, is coming home. She falls to her knees in her kitchen and thanks God. She does not know what the war has done to him. She does not know that the boy who left is not the man who will return. But for now, it is enough. He is alive. He is coming home. The camera rises, above the Pacific, above the islands, the ships, the graves, above the world that has spent 6 years burning. It rises into the clouds, into the sky, into the silence. Below, the war is over, but the dead remain. 50 million of them. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, civilians, children, grandparents, Jews, Poles, Russians, Germans, Japanese, Americans. They lie in graves from the Volga to the Rhine, from the jungles of Guadalcanal to the beaches of Normandy. They lie in mass graves and unmarked graves and graves that will never be found. They are gone. But they are not forgotten. They cannot be forgotten. Their voices echo in the silence, asking the same question, the question that has no answer. Why? The first image is a train. Not a passenger train, not a military train. A freight train, made for cattle, for goods, for things that do not need windows or seats or air. This train is moving through the Polish countryside, through green fields and small villages, past farms where peasants look up and then quickly look away. The train is long. 40 cars. 50. 60. The doors are bolted shut. There are no markings, nothing to indicate what is inside. But sounds come from the train. Crying. Moaning. A child's voice, high and thin, calling for water. A woman's voice, low and constant, praying in a language that has been spoken in Europe for 1,000 years. Yiddish. Inside one of the cars, a family is pressed together. There is no room to sit, no room to lie down, barely room to stand. They have been here for 3 days. The bucket in the corner, meant for waste, overflowed long ago. The floor is slick with urine and feces. The air is thick, foul, impossible to breathe. People have died in this car. Their bodies still stand among the living, held up by the press of flesh, their dead eyes open, their dead mouths gaping. The family's name is Horowitz. Abraham, the father, was a tailor in Krakow. He made suits for rich men, suits so fine they lasted for years. His wife, Rachel, kept a small kosher kitchen and lit candles on Friday night and sang to their children. Their children, David and Miriam, are 12 and 8. David is smart, too smart, always asking questions his father cannot answer. Miriam is quiet, watchful, with eyes that see too much. They are all going to die. They do not know it yet. But they are going to die. The train slows. The wheels grind against the tracks. Through the slats in the wall, Abraham can see a sign. A single word. Auschwitz. The train stops. The doors are pulled open with a crash. Light floods in, blinding after days of darkness. The prisoners blink, shield their eyes, try to see. German voices shout, dogs bark, orders are screamed in a language they do not understand, but instantly obey. Raus, raus, schnell. They pour out of the cars, stumbling, falling, helping each other up. The platform is long, stretching into the distance. On one side, barbed wire. On the other, buildings, brick buildings, neat and orderly, with chimneys that smoke day and night. The smoke has a smell, sweet, greasy, unforgettable. Men in striped uniforms move among the new arrivals, speaking quickly, urgently. Give the children to the old women. Give the babies to the grandmothers. The young women should look healthy, strong. The men should stand straight, look capable. It is the only chance, the only hope. Abraham does not understand. He holds Miriam's hand. Rachel holds David's. They stand together, a family, waiting. An SS officer walks down the line. He is young, handsome, immaculate. He glances at each prisoner as he passes. A flick of his thumb, left, right. He is sorting people, sorting them into life and death. He reaches the Horowitz family. He looks at Abraham, strong, capable, left. He looks at Rachel, young, healthy, left. He looks at David, a boy, old enough to work, left. He looks at Miriam, a girl, small, frail, too young, right. Abraham does not understand, not at first. The SS officer has already moved on. A striped uniform man grabs Miriam's arm, pulls her toward the line on the right. Rachel screams. She grabs her daughter, holds her, will not let go. A German soldier runs over, swings his rifle butt, hits Rachel in the face. She falls. Miriam is pulled away. She does not scream. She does not cry. She just looks back at her mother, her eyes huge, her face empty as she disappears into the crowd. Abraham stands frozen. He cannot move. He cannot speak. David tugs at his sleeve. Father, Father, where is Miriam going? Abraham has no answer. He will never have an answer. The line on the right moves toward the buildings with the chimneys. The line on the left moves toward the barracks. Abraham, Rachel, and David walk toward the barracks. They do not look back. They cannot. If they look back, they will break. And they cannot break, not yet. The camera follows the line to the right, to the buildings with the chimneys, to a place the Germans call a special treatment area. The world will come to know it by another name: the gas chamber. It is a large room, underground, concrete, with pipes along the ceiling and drains in the floor. The people are crowded inside, naked, confused, frightened. They have been told they are going to take a shower, to be disinfected. They have been told to remember where they put their clothes so they can find them after. They believe it. They want to believe it. Because the alternative is unthinkable. The doors close. They are heavy, steel, airtight. A latch drops into place. The people inside press together, mothers holding children, husbands holding wives, strangers holding strangers. The lights go out. Darkness. Complete and absolute. Then a sound. A hiss. From the pipes in the ceiling. Something comes out. Not water. Gas. Zyklon B hydrogen cyanide. It smells like almonds, they say. But no one in this room will ever describe the smell. They have seconds left. The panic begins. Screaming. Clawing at the doors. Climbing over each other, trying to reach the ceiling, trying to reach air that is not there. Children cry. Mothers scream. Old men pray. It lasts for minutes. Then it stops. The screaming stops. The crying stops. The praying stops. 20 minutes later, the doors open. Special squads of prisoners, the Sonderkommando, enter with hoses. They spray the bodies, wash away the blood, the vomit, the excrement. They pull the bodies apart, Untangle the limbs, separate the dead. Gold teeth are pulled, hair is cut. The bodies are loaded onto elevators, taken to the ovens, burned. The smoke rises from the chimneys. It drifts over the camp, over the barracks, over the train platform where new arrivals are still pouring out of new trains. It smells sweet, greasy. It is the smell of Miriam, of a million Miriams, of a million children who never grew up. In the barracks, the survivors try to live. They sleep on wooden bunks, 3 to a shelf, packed like the freight trains that brought them. They eat bread and watery soup. They work. They work until they drop, and then they work some more. They are beaten for resting, beaten for moving too slow, beaten for no reason at all. Rachel works in a factory nearby, making parts for German weapons. She stands at a machine for 12 hours a day, her hands moving automatically, her mind somewhere else, somewhere far away. Somewhere Miriam still exists. David works in the same factory. He has grown thin, so thin his bones show through his skin. But he is alive. He works next to his mother. They do not speak. Speaking is forbidden. But sometimes when the guards are not looking, their eyes meet. And for a moment they are not prisoners. They are mother and son. They are family. Abraham is in a different part of the camp. He works in a commando that unloads the trains. Every day new trains arrive. Every day he sees the same scene. Families pouring out. Mothers holding children. Old people helped by young. The SS officer with the thumb. Left. Right. Left. Right. He sees the people sent right. He knows where they are going. He knows what the chimneys mean. He cannot tell them. He cannot warn them. If he does, he will be shot, and the next train will come anyway, and nothing will change. So he works. He unloads the dead from the cars, the ones who did not survive the journey. He carries their bodies to a pile, where other prisoners load them onto trucks. He does not look at their faces. He cannot. If he looks, he will see Miriam. And if he sees Miriam, he will break. One day, a train arrives from Hungary. The people are different here. They do not know. They have not heard the rumors. They step off the train looking around, confused, asking where they are, when they will be resettled, when they will see their new homes. Abraham watches them. A family passes. A father, a mother, 2 children, a boy and a girl. The girl's about Miriam's age. She has the same dark eyes, the same quiet watchfulness. She looks at Abraham. For a moment, their eyes meet. She does not see a prisoner. She sees a man with kind eyes. She smiles, a small, uncertain smile. Abraham cannot help himself. He moves toward her, just a step. A guard sees him. The guard swings his rifle. The butt hits Abraham in the back. He falls. The guard kicks him. Stupid Jew. Filth. Stay in your place. Abraham lies in the mud. He does not get up. He watches through the dirt as the Hungarian family moves toward the officer. The thumb, left, right. The girl goes right. She does not look back. That night, Abraham cannot eat. He lies on his bunk, staring at the ceiling, seeing the girl's face, seeing Miriam's face, seeing all the faces. They blur together. They become one face, the face of every child who ever lived and died in this place. Rachel finds him. She lies down next to him, the first time they have been together in months. She holds his hand. She does not speak. There is nothing to say. In the morning, Abraham goes back to work. He unloads more trains. He carries more bodies. He watches more children walk toward the chimneys. He does not try to help them. He does not look into their eyes. He just works. It is the only way to survive. But surviving is not living. Abraham knows this now. He is not living. He is merely not dead. And sometimes in the darkest hours of the night he wonders if that is worse. The camera shifts to Berlin, to a beautiful villa on a lake. January 20th, 1942. 15 men sit around a table drinking brandy, eating lunch. They are educated men, civilized men. They have doctorates, advanced degrees, cultured accents. They are discussing logistics, transportation, resource allocation, efficiency. This is the Wannsee Conference. The topic is the final solution to the Jewish question. The men around the table are deciding how to kill 11 million people. They speak in euphemisms: evacuation to the east, special treatment, resettlement. But they all know what the words mean. They are planning genocide: industrial, systematic, complete. The man leading the meeting is Reinhard Heydrich. He is 37 years old, tall, blond, with cold eyes and a thin mouth. He is the head of the Reich Main Security Office. He is also a talented violinist, a loving father, a man who cries at the opera. He will be assassinated by Czech partisans in a few months. He will die in agony from his wounds. But today, he is planning murder. And he does it with the same precision he would use to plan a business merger. The men around the table take notes. They ask questions. How will we transport them? What about the Mischlinge, those of mixed blood? What about the decorated Jewish war veterans? Each question is answered. Each detail is settled. By the time they finish their brandy, the fate of millions is sealed. In Auschwitz, the killing continues. The trains keep coming. The chimneys keep smoking. The Sonderkommando keep working. They are prisoners too, forced to participate in the murder of their own people. They last a few months, then they are killed too, replaced by new arrivals. They know their fate. They know they will die. But they do their work anyway, because the alternative is immediate death. And immediate death is worse than a few more months of life. One of them, a Greek Jew named Shlomo, keeps a diary. He hides it in a bottle, buried under the floor of the crematorium. He writes down everything: the numbers, the names, the faces. He wants the world to know. He wants someone to remember. He writes about a young woman who recognized her husband among the Sonderkommando. She smiled, reached for him, and then the gas came. He writes about a child who asked for a drink of water, and he had no water to give. He writes about the sound, the screaming. He writes that he will never forget the sound, not if he lives 1,000 years. He does not live 1,000 years. He lives 3 more months. Then he is shot, and his body is burned in the same ovens he tended. The bottle remains buried. It will be found after the war, by accident, by a Polish worker clearing the rubble. Shlomo's words will survive. Shlomo will not. The war is ending now. The Germans know they are losing. They try to hide the evidence. They blow up the crematoria. They burn the records. They force the surviving prisoners on death marches, away from the advancing Soviets, into the heart of Germany. They march for days, weeks, through snow and cold, without food, without water. Those who fall are shot. Those who cannot keep up are shot. The roads are lined with bodies. Abraham, Rachel, and David are on one of these marches. They have survived Auschwitz. They do not know how. They just have. Now they walk through the Polish winter, through the snow, through the forest, through the endless white. David is sick. His cough is deep, wet, terrible. Rachel holds him up, keeps him moving. Abraham walks behind, watching for the guards, ready to throw himself in front of any bullet meant for his son. They walk for days. They lose track of time. They lose track of everything except the need to put one foot in front of the other. On the 5th day, David falls. He cannot get up. Rachel tries to lift him, but she is too weak. Abraham tries. They both try. David looks up at them, his eyes huge in his gaunt face. He says something. They cannot hear it. His voice is too faint. A guard approaches. He raises his rifle. Abraham steps in front of his son. He stands between the rifle and the boy. He does not speak. He does not beg. He just stands. The guard hesitates. For a moment, something flickers in his eyes. He is young, younger than Abraham. He has a mother somewhere, a father, a life before all this. Then the moment passes. He lowers the rifle, he turns away. He walks to the next fallen prisoner and shoots him without a pause. Abraham does not understand. He will never understand. He just picks up his son and keeps walking. Days later, they are liberated. Soviet soldiers find them in an abandoned barn, half dead from cold and starvation. The soldiers are hardened men, veterans of Stalingrad and Kursk, men who have seen horrors beyond imagination. But when they see the survivors, when they see the walking skeletons in striped uniforms, some of them cry. Some of them turn away. Some of them vomit. A Soviet medic wraps David in blankets, gives him soup, holds him while he shakes. David looks at the medic. He does not smile. He has forgotten how to smile. But something in his eyes changes. A tiny flicker. A spark. Rachel and Abraham sit together, leaning against the barn wall. They are free. The word has no meaning. They do not feel free. They feel empty, hollow, like shells from which everything has been scooped out. The medic approaches them. He speaks in broken Yiddish, picked up from other survivors. He tells them the war is almost over. Germany will surrender soon. They can go home. They can rebuild. Abraham looks at him. Home. The word has no meaning either. Their home is gone. Their city is gone. Their family is gone. Miriam is gone. Everyone they knew is gone. There is nothing to rebuild. There is no one to rebuild with. But there is David. David is alive. David is here. David is looking at them with those eyes that have seen too much but are still open, still seeing, still alive. Abraham reaches out and takes Rachel's hand. She takes his. They sit together, in the straw, in the cold, in the ruin of their lives. They are free, they are alive, they are together. It is not enough. It will never be enough. But it is something. It is the only something they have. In the weeks that follow, the world learns the truth. The camps are opened. The photographs are taken. The films are made. The world sees the piles of bodies, the emaciated survivors, the ovens, the gas chambers, the mountains of shoes and glasses and hair. People look at these images and cannot comprehend them. They are too big, too terrible, too far beyond normal human experience. They try to understand, and they fail. They will keep failing for generations because some things cannot be understood. They can only be remembered. Shlomo's diary is found. It is published. People read his words, his descriptions, his last testament. They cry. They mourn. They promise never to forget. But forgetting is easy. Remembering is hard. And the world will forget again and again, in big ways and small, because remembering hurts too much. Abraham, Rachel, and David go to America. They have relatives there, distant cousins who survived because they left in time. They start over. Abraham finds work as a tailor again. Rachel keeps a kosher kitchen and lights candles on Friday night. David grows up, becomes a doctor, saves lives. They do not talk about the war. They do not talk about Miriam. They do not talk about Auschwitz. The memories are there always, in the silence between words, in the look that passes between them at odd moments, in the nightmares that wake them in the dark. But they live. They live because that is the only answer to death. They live because Miriam cannot. They live because the Nazis wanted them dead, and living is the only victory they have. The camera rises, above the camps, above the ruins, above the survivors, walking toward an uncertain future. It rises into the clouds, into the sky, into the silence. Below, the chimneys are cold. The trains have stopped. The killing is over. But the dead remain. 6 million Jews, millions of others, Poles, Russians, gypsies, homosexuals, disabled, dissidents. They lie in mass graves from the Baltic to the Black Sea. They lie in the ashes, scattered over fields and forests. They lie in the memories of those who survived, those who will carry them forever. They are gone, but they are not forgotten. They cannot be forgotten. Their voices echo in the silence, asking the same question, the question that has no answer. Why? The first image is not a battlefield. It is a bunker, deep underground, beneath the streets of Berlin, beneath the rubble, beneath the dying city. The air is stale, thick with the smell of sweat and fear and failure. Concrete walls drip with moisture. Electric lights flicker as the generators strain. Men in uniforms move through narrow corridors, their faces gray, their eyes empty. They have not slept in days. They have not eaten in days. They have not hoped in days. It is April 30th, 1945. The man they serve is in a small room at the end of the corridor. He is not the man who marched into Vienna. Not the man who stood on the balcony in Paris. Not the man who promised a 1,000-year Reich. He is old now, broken, his left hand trembling constantly, his eyes sunken and red, his body hunched over maps that no longer mean anything. Adolf Hitler sits on a small sofa. He holds a pistol in his good hand. He stares at the wall. Outside, the Soviet artillery never stops. The ground shakes constantly. The end is near, and he knows it. Earlier that day, he married his longtime mistress, Eva Braun. She is in the next room, wearing a black dress, waiting. She will die with him. She has chosen this. She is 33 years old. She could have left. She could have survived. She chose to stay. Hitler thinks about the 1,000 years. They lasted 12. He thinks about the victory. It turned to defeat. He thinks about the German people. They failed him, he believes. They were not strong enough, not worthy enough. They deserve to die with him. He raises the pistol. He puts it in his mouth. He pulls the trigger. The sound is muffled by the concrete walls. No one outside the room hears it. But in the corridor, the men know. They have been waiting for this. They look at each other. No one speaks. No one knows what to say. In the next room, Eva bites into a cyanide capsule. She dies in seconds, her head falling forward, her hair covering her face. The bodies are carried up the stairs into the garden of the Chancellery. The shelling continues. Soviet troops are blocks away. The bodies are placed in a shallow trench, doused with gasoline, set on fire. The flames rise, black smoke mixing with the smoke of the dying city. The men who did this salute, then turn and walk away. They have work to do. They have to survive. The man who changed the world, who caused 50 million deaths, who turned Europe into a graveyard, burns in a ditch. His body will never be found. His bones will be ground to dust. His ashes will scatter in the wind. It is the only mercy he ever showed anyone. The camera rises. Above the bunker, above Berlin, the city is a wasteland. Buildings are skeletons. Streets are rivers of rubble. The dead lie everywhere, covered with dust, their faces frozen in the last moment of agony. Soviet soldiers move through the ruins, clearing buildings, hunting snipers, finding survivors. They are young, old, tired, victorious. Some of them cry, some of them laugh, some of them just walk, too exhausted for either. A Soviet soldier named Ivan sits on a pile of rubble, eating a piece of bread. He is from a small village near Stalingrad. He fought through the whole war, from the Volga to the Spree. He has seen friends die, enemies die, civilians die. He has killed more men than he can count. He has lost count. He looks around at Berlin, at the ruins, at the enemy capital, finally fallen. He thought this moment would feel different. He thought he would feel triumph, joy, vengeance. Instead, he feels nothing, just emptiness, just tired. He finishes his bread. He stands up. He walks on. There is more work to do. In a basement somewhere in Berlin, a German family huddles together. The father is dead, killed by a shell 2 days ago. The mother, Helga, holds her 2 children, Klaus and Greta. They have not eaten in 3 days. They have not had water in 2. The children are past crying. They just stare at the wall, their eyes huge in their small faces. Helga hears footsteps above. Boots, many boots. She holds her children tighter. The door opens. Soviet soldiers stand there, their faces grim, their weapons ready. Helga waits for death. She has heard the stories. What the Soviets do to German women. What they do to German civilians. She waits. The soldiers look at her, at the children, at the hunger in their eyes. One of them, an older man with gray in his beard, says something in Russian. The others nod. They turn and leave. A moment later, one comes back. He throws a loaf of bread on the floor. Then he leaves. Helga stares at the bread. She cannot move. Klaus crawls to it, picks it up, brings it to his mother. She takes it. She breaks it. She gives pieces to her children. They eat. She does not. She cannot. She just sits, holding her children, listening to the boots fade away. May 7th, 1945. In a red schoolhouse in Reims, France, the German High Command surrenders. General Alfred Jodl signs the document. The war in Europe is over. The surrender will take effect the next day. In London, the news breaks. The streets fill with people. They dance, they sing, they cry, they kiss strangers. The lights come on for the first time in 6 years. Trafalgar Square is a sea of humanity. Churchill appears on a balcony, gives his V sign, and the crowd roars. In New York, the news arrives in the middle of the night. But no one sleeps. Times Square fills with people. A sailor grabs a nurse and kisses her. A photographer captures the moment. It becomes the most famous photograph of the celebration. The sailor and the nurse will never meet again. They will never know each other's names. But for one moment, in the middle of 1 million people, they are joy itself. In Moscow, the news comes on May 9th. Stalin announces the victory on the radio. His voice is heavy, tired, but there is something else in it. Satisfaction. Vengeance fulfilled. The city erupts. Fireworks fill the sky. Soldiers fire their rifles into the air. Strangers embrace. The war that killed 27 million Soviets is finally over. In a village in the Russian countryside, an old woman named Natalia sits on the steps of her hut. She has received no letters in years. Her 3 sons went to the front. None came back. Her husband died of starvation during the siege of Leningrad, trying to get food to her and the children. The children are dead too, of typhus, of cold, of simple starvation. She sits alone, listening to the church bells ring in the distance. She does not celebrate. There is no one left to celebrate with. She just sits and remembers and waits for the end. The camera shifts to the Pacific, to an island called Okinawa. June 1945. The battle is over. The Americans have won. But the cost is staggering. 100,000 Japanese dead, 50,000 Americans dead, 150,000 Okinawan civilians dead, many by their own hands, jumping from cliffs rather than surrender. An American Marine named Frank walks through the ruins of a village. He is 19 years old. He joined the Marines because his father fought in the Great War and told him it would make him a man. His father did not tell him about this, about the bodies, about the smell, about the flies. He steps over a dead Japanese soldier. He steps over a dead Okinawan woman. He steps over a dead child. They are everywhere. There is no way to avoid them. They are the landscape now. He finds a cave. Inside a family, dead. Mother, father, 3 children. They have killed themselves with a grenade. The father pulled the pin and held it to his chest. The blast killed them all. They lie in a pile, tangled together. Their blood long since dried to brown. Frank stares at them. He tries to understand. He cannot. He turns and walks away. He will try to forget. He will not succeed. August 6th, 1945, Hiroshima, Japan, 8:15 in the morning. The city is waking up. People go to work. Children go to school. Trams run along their routes. It is a normal day. Above the city, a single American B-29 bomber flies. Its name is the Enola Gay. In its bomb bay is a weapon unlike any before. It is called Little Boy. It contains 64 kilograms of uranium. It will change everything. At 8:15, the bomb bay opens. The bomb falls. It takes 43 seconds to reach the altitude where it will detonate. 43 seconds of normal life. 43 seconds before the world ends. The bomb explodes 600 meters above the city. The temperature at the hypocenter reaches 1,000,000 degrees. Everything within a kilometer is vaporized. People cease to exist. They leave only shadows on stone, outlines of where they stood, the last photograph of their lives. Beyond that, the blast wave flattens everything. Buildings collapse. Fires start. The fires merge into a firestorm, a hurricane of flame that consumes everything in its path. A young woman named Sumiko is walking to work. She is a clerk in a government office. She is thinking about her boyfriend, a soldier stationed in Manchuria. She is thinking about the letter she will write him tonight. The flash comes. It is brighter than the sun. She feels heat, unbearable heat. Then nothing. She wakes hours later, she does not know where. She is lying in rubble. Her skin is burned, hanging from her arms in strips. People walk past her, silent, their skin hanging too, their eyes blank. They do not see her. They do not see anything. She tries to stand. She cannot. She lies in the rubble, watching the city burn, watching the people walk, watching the world end. She will survive. She will carry the scars forever. She will tell her story, again and again, to anyone who will listen. She will become a symbol, a witness, a voice from the fire. But today she just lies in the rubble waiting for help that will not come for days. August 9th, 1945, Nagasaki. The same scene repeated. Another bomb, another city destroyed, another 70,000 dead. The Japanese government still hesitates. The military still wants to fight. The emperor must decide. August 15th, 1945. Emperor Hirohito speaks on the radio. It is the first time most Japanese have ever heard his voice. He speaks in formal ancient Japanese, difficult to understand. But the meaning is clear. Japan surrenders. The war is over. In Tokyo, people listen in silence. Some weep. Some bow toward the palace. Some do not understand what they have heard, what it means, what will happen now. In prisoner of war camps across Asia, men who have been waiting for years hear the news. They do not believe it at first. Then they do. Then they cry. Then they laugh. Then they wait for the gates to open. In a camp in Manchuria, a British soldier named Arthur has been a prisoner for 3.5 years. He has been beaten, starved, worked to the edge of death. He has watched friends die of disease, of malnutrition, of simple despair. He has survived because he refused to die, because he promised his mother he would come home. When the guards tell him the war is over, he does not react. He has learned not to react. He waits. He watches. The guards leave. The gates open. He walks out. He stands in the sunlight for the first time in years. He feels the warmth on his face. He breathes air that does not smell of disease and death. He is free. He does not know what to do with freedom. He has forgotten how to be free. He stands in the road alone while other prisoners stream past him, shouting, crying, embracing. He just stands. Then he starts walking. South. Toward the coast. Toward home. Toward a life he no longer knows how to live. September 2nd, 1945. Tokyo Bay. The American battleship Missouri is anchored in the harbor. Its decks are crowded with officers, officials, journalists. The sun is bright. The water is calm. The war that has consumed the world for 6 years is about to end. Japanese representatives come aboard. They are in formal dress, top hats and tails, incongruous against the gray steel of the warship. They look small, humiliated. They do not look at the Americans. They look at their shoes, at the deck, at anywhere but the faces of their conquerors. General Douglas MacArthur presides. He is tall, imperious, a conqueror in the old style. He speaks briefly. He calls for peace, for justice, for a better world. Then he gestures to the Japanese to sign. Foreign Minister Mamoru Shigemitsu signs first. He has a wooden leg, the result of an assassination attempt years ago. He hobbles to the table, sits, signs. His face reveals nothing. He is a man doing his duty, even this humiliation. General Yoshijiro Umezu signs next. He is the chief of the Army General Staff. He opposed surrender. He wanted to fight to the last man. But he obeys his emperor. He signs. His hand does not tremble. His face does not change. MacArthur signs next. Then the American representatives. Then the Allies, country by country. China, Britain, the Soviet Union, Australia, Canada, France, the Netherlands, New Zealand. When it is done, MacArthur speaks again. He says, "These proceedings are closed. The war is over. Officially. Completely. Finally." Above the Missouri, thousands of American planes fly in formation. They fill the sky. A display of power, of victory, of the New World Order. The Japanese representatives watch. They do not speak. They do not move. They just watch. The camera follows them as they leave the ship. They board a launch that takes them back to Tokyo, back to their ruined city, back to their defeated country. They do not look back at the Missouri. They do not look at each other. They just sit, staring at the water, at the future, at the unknown. In Berlin, Friedrich sits in the ruins of his apartment. He survived the war. He does not know how. He just did. He returned to Berlin to find nothing. The building where he lived is a shell. His apartment is gone. His neighbors are gone. Everyone is gone. He sits on a pile of rubble, holding the photograph of Elsa. It is creased, dirty, but her face is still there, still young, still beautiful, still alive in this single image. He looks around at the ruins, at the women clearing bricks, the old men trying to rebuild, the children playing in the destruction. He thinks about everything that has happened, the bread lines, the rallies, the war, the death, the endless, senseless death. He thinks about the boy in Warsaw, the family in the Sudetenland, the cavalry charging tanks, the frozen soldiers at Stalingrad, the camps, the ovens, the smoke. He thinks about his nephew, dead at 19, about Elsa, dead at 30, about himself, still alive at 50, with nothing left to live for. He stands up. He puts the photograph in his pocket. He walks into the city, into the ruins, into whatever comes next. In New York, a young woman named Ruth waits at a pier. She is holding a sign with a name on it, David Horowitz. She has never met him. He is her cousin, a survivor of Auschwitz, coming to America to start over. Her mother told her to meet him, to help him, to be family. The ship docks. The passengers come down the gangplank. They are thin, pale, haunted. They look around at the city with eyes that have seen too much. Ruth watches them. She does not know what to expect. She does not know what to say. A man approaches. He is young, but his eyes are old. He is thin, but he stands straight. He looks at her sign. He looks at her. "David?" she asks. He nods. He does not speak. He just looks at her, and she sees something in his eyes, something broken, something that will never be fixed. She reaches out and takes his hand. "Welcome to America," she says. He nods again. He follows her into the city, into the future, into a life he never thought he would have. In a small village in Poland, a survivor returns. His name is Jacob. He is the only one from his family. He walks through the streets where he grew up, past the house where he was born, past the school where he learned to read. Everything is the same. Everything is different. The neighbors see him. They look away. They know what happened. They know who took his family. Some of them helped. Some of them watched. Some of them just did nothing. Jacob stands in front of his house. A Polish family lives there now. They have his furniture, his mother's dishes, his father's books. He does not knock. He does not demand. He just stands, looking at the house, remembering. Then he turns and walks away. He will go to America, or Palestine, or anywhere but here. He will never come back. The camera rises. Above the village, above Poland, above Europe, above the world. Below, the war is over. The killing has stopped, but the dead remain. 50 million of them. They lie in graves, from the Arctic to the Pacific, from the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of Burma. They lie in mass graves, and unmarked graves, and graves that will never be found. They lie at the bottom of the sea, in the ruins of cities, in the ashes of camps. They are soldiers and civilians, men and women, children and infants. They are Jews and Gentiles, Russians and Germans, Japanese and Americans. They are everyone and no one. They are the cost of the greatest mistake in human history. And the survivors? They carry on. They rebuild. They remember. They try to forget. They fail. They tell their stories. They hope someone will listen. The camera continues to rise, into the clouds, into the sky. into the silence. Below, a new world is being born, a world of superpowers and cold wars, of atomic bombs and iron curtains, of divided cities and occupied countries. The peace is not peace. It is just another kind of war. A war without bullets. A war without end. But for one moment, for one brief moment, the guns are silent. The bombs have stopped falling. The killing has ended. In Berlin, in Tokyo, in London, in Moscow, in 1,000 cities and villages across the world, people look at the sky and breathe. They breathe the air of peace. They breathe the air of survival. They breathe. It is enough. It has to be enough. The screen fades to black. A single word appears. Never.